And no, not yet.
Oh my God. So this is an email that we received from the Ginger Ninja on the 20th. Thank you, Morgan. And said something to the effect of, there is nothing to stop the Federal Reserve from creating as much money as it wants and giving it to whoever.
The shorter answer is there's a lot of reasons, and it's every single state has their own reasons.
Right.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat. With everything going on in this nation, we need some information, and that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation. With real talking, real topics, real people, real problems. Think we need some help to solve them, and leave it up to Colin and the Donovan, cause that's what's that? Let's get ready.
Just like a red, white, and blue phoenix rising from the ashes of political bipartisanship, we are back to Salt of the Streets podcast.
This is Saturday, February 23rd, 10:08 a.m. Happy birthday, baby.
Happy birthday, Jordan. Don, what episode is this?
Episode 50.
The big 50. And welcome back, everybody, to the Salt of the Streets podcast, your one and only source for social and political commentary on weekly news, pop culture, and sports, all completely built from the ground up for people like you and me, the everyday normal person. So come, join us as we discuss life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and continue our endless and tireless efforts to bridge the gap between people and information. As always, we are your hosts. My name is Colin.
I am Donovan.
And coming up on episode number 50, we just have a big old grab bag show today. We went over a bunch of topics in the pre-show, so if you didn't get the pre-show, you can always check that out. I think we're going to drop that on the podcast feed again. That was a pretty, that was a new thing we did last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But couple random topics that we may or may not hit through this giant grab bag. Venezuela. We have some issues. Today's the deadline for the
Humanitarian aid.
Yeah, humanitarian aid. I was like financial aid. That's not quite it. That's more like school stuff.
This is the last day I can sign up for school.
Yeah, get your Fed loan now. Your low interest ish rates that they'll give to anybody, and you can be in debt for the rest of your life and never be able to get out of them. Thank you, federal government, for that. But what else do we have? We have Bernie Sanders announced he was coming out in the race. We have some talk about some Bob Mueller stuff.
The Green New Deal.
Green New Deal's a big one. We got
a long time.
Yeah.
Amazon.
We might even Amazon, yeah. Amazon, and you said in the pre-show, Amazon leaving Seattle?
Oh,
or were you talking about New York?
I meant New York. Yeah, I said Seattle. I'm really sorry for anybody that I misled during the pre-show because I definitely meant New York. It's just 10 o'clock in the morning.
As of right now, Seattle is actually in a massive panic, burning the city down because you flubbed the line.
Right now, we're safe.
For now, we have the water between us, so any Seattle craziness is still a slow trickle over here.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we got so much stuff. I don't even want to say it all because I don't know what we're going to get to and what we're not going to get to. But we have a nice big pop culture, some newsy stories in pop culture. We even have some video game talk planned.
Fuck, sorry.
Dawn's going to have a massive heart attack on camera.
My heart skipped for a second.
Yeah, see, at least when I passed out, it was just on audio. There was no camera at the time. So if you go down now, it's going to be forever enshrined in the cinematic universe known as the YouTube.
Shit.
That's right. So remember that.
All right. I'll keep it together.
So what? Some of your topics that you were going to bring up, other than Green New Deal, Amazon.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Morgan's letter because Morgan, the Ginger Ninja, wrote us a letter this week, wrote us an email about some things that we had said last week that she was not happy about. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk, like you said, about Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris a minute. And we're going to talk about why we are not going to address Democratic candidates yet.
Yeah.
Or any candidates yet, because it's far too early.
Far too early.
So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk some big picture type of stuff, some stuff that you have on your mind, if you have any of that shit written down or
so much
easily accessible. So we'll talk about that. Excuse me. We have some sports that we're going to go over. We have some pop culture, some R. Kelly.
Jesse Smollett.
Yeah, a little bit of Jesse Smollett.
Oh, yeah.
There was a guy who tried to smuggle a leopard cub. So we'll talk about that.
Was it Mike Tyson? Is he trying? Is he moving from tigers to leopards?
That's the new thing, is leopard cubs.
I mean, they are adorable.
Yeah, so
I don't blame anybody for that.
So we're gonna cover that. I have some NFL announcements. Talk about all that shit.
Big news in the NFL this week.
Yeah,
that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about some of that, and then some NFL rumors. A little bit of Russell Wilson, a little bit of
I've seen like Facebook type rumors, but I never know what to think about those. It's kind of like Facebook is the ultimate, I'm good for now, conspiracy theorist, because there's so much craziness that just comes across your feed.
So much lies.
And you just look at it and go, I don't know, well, it could be. I don't know. I'm not even bother to look into it because I just don't care enough about that one.
There's more bullshit on Facebook than there is on any other social media platform. Like, at least on Twitter, it's easy to differentiate from what is sarcasm and what is real,
Yeah.
and what is strictly satire. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's much easier to tell because there's people have a blue check mark. You know? Like, that's, I don't know. Shit's just easier on Twitter, but on Facebook, people will lie about shit and try and make it seem like it's real, and it's weird. Facebook is a weird
disturbing
beast. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan.
No.
This coming right on the backs of us recording on Facebook Live.
You got to do what you got to do.
That's right. So we'll save the massive shit talking on Facebook to the podcast, which they don't get to hear. So do you want to do you want to start off with anything or just jump right into the I think we might want to jump off with the email from the Ginger Ninja.
Deal. I am down to start with Morgan's letter because I'm sure that if we don't, she's just going to be sitting here listening to the whole episode.
We should just keep her on the hook,
waining for the other.
Every 20 minutes or so, just keep referring to like how we're gonna get to it, and then we'll get into all of a sudden you'll be like sports,
and she'll be like, "What the fuck?" That's really funny.
No,
we'll be nice. We'll talk about your letter first. So let me go ahead and pull this up. Do you want to talk about your section first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Man, the show dog's barking in the background. I got the door open because it's colder than a Well Dickers Kerblatten.
Yeah.
In the studio.
Well Dickers Kerblatten.
Don't ask me. That's from Family Guy, I think. So I got the fireplace going in the other room where the dogs are, and so they might be barking every now and again. So I apologize in advance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so talking about my part first?
Yep.
So this is all in reference to the conversation we had last week on the episode for
the State of the
Union. Yeah. And we'll just let the kind of the message speak for itself.
You want me to read you this section?
You can give me broad strokes if you want, depending on.
I got her permission this morning to read the email.
That's what I was just thinking about. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, nope. Okay. I asked this morning, and she gave us permission to read the email because I wanted to.
Because she's a baller.
Sure,
she's a baller.
Okay, so I'll read this, and you can tell me to stop whenever you want, and then you can speak on that point, and then I'll move on, and we can.
Very well.
How do you feel about that? So
let's do it.
Okay, so this is an email that we received from the Ginger Ninja on the 20th. Thank you, Morgan. And none of this is ever to disparage Morgan, because if she was able to be here, we asked her to be here, and it just didn't work out this morning. But this is one we were going to talk about because we wanted to address it early. And this is something that we're willing to do for anybody who has any type of issue with us. If you want to come and talk about it, you're more than welcome. If not, you can write us an email and we'll address it. We'll just read it, and we can even just reply to you privately if you want. If you don't want us to talk about it on the show, we're willing to address any grievance or anything like that, privately or publicly. So at least I am. I don't want to speak for you.
No. That's kind of like our thing. That's what we want you guys to do.
Yes. So here we go. First was when Colin said that. Well, okay. So first off, you guys both know I love the hell out of you. Also, I know that you had no ill intent with anything you said on the show. These were two particular instances that got my blood boiling. She's bubbling. Okay, first was when Colin said that women of Congress were being petty during the State of the Union. I think what is important to note here is all the shit women have constantly had to take since Trump became president. His entire campaign was based off of the division of people.
Okay, pause button.
Words.
I have to pause there.
Okay.
Because we're starting to get off track. And this is to address the actual issue, essentially, is the me calling out of the women on in the State of the Union, you know, I think I referred to them, gave them a hard time for wearing their suffrage white.
Yeah.
And I've had this actually since Morgan emailed me and you this thing. I've been talking to a lot of people about it, and I can understand how if you're not looking at the State of the Union in a certain light, and I think we mentioned that last week, how when I watch this thing, I'm watching it for the political game that's going on, not even so much as the substance. So by spinning off into Trump's presidency automatically, this, that, and the other thing, we're getting in a completely different topic and area of conversation. I feel it's a different argument to have, because I would not disagree with anybody that says that Trump's presidency and the lead up to and all the terrible rhetoric. I think it really, really kicked off after the locker room talk conversation on the bus and that whole thing. And but for me, referring to some of the women in Congress as being petty during the State of the Union, I guess you would probably say that at the whole, I don't necessarily approve of a protest showing to the State of the Union, because for me, it sends the wrong message of unprofessionalism, maybe. I don't know. I don't like it when real life politics gets completely caught up in the social culture war. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where we play out the culture war in legislation, in government. And I don't like to see, you know, the social hot button issues playing out as they should in society on a governmental level during an official State of the Union.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it, but, you know, it's when people sit there and, you know, the big conversations are who applauds at what, who doesn't applaud at what, and it's all just nonsensical behavior, just trying to be, I mean, you're playing it's a petty game to me. Mm-hmm. And I think it's, just because you are in such opposition to this particular president doesn't mean that you can't applaud when something that's good about the country is being said at a State of the Union. You should be able to applaud that, not just because you're so opposed to him that you won't applaud to anything other than, you know, the one or two things that they did applaud for.
Right.
You know, and it was usually something that specifically was kind of pointed at them.
And I think that part of her point is that it was said specifically about women, you know, because I know that was part of her deal with me, and we'll get to that later. But I would tend to agree, right? And would preemptively defend you in saying that those type of things, well, you're saying that like they were being petty. That type of stuff is said more generally towards the women of Congress, because the men of Congress don't do shit like that as often. You know, They are more apt to, like you said, show up and just applaud and do their thing and then leave. You know, because all you got to do is show up. You know, like it's like going to class. You know, you don't have to go to class in college.
Yeah,
you show up and you fucking do whatever, and then you leave. You know, like it.
And I mean, even if you don't agree with you even being there in the first place, but if you do, you know, and now you're part of this, you know, because we've gotten so factional. Yeah. You know, tribal, right. Another word for it is that these little groups and these little cliques come up. And now, at least on the political level, like you have to be a part of that if you're going to play that side of the table. You know, and don't get me wrong, the Republicans on the other side of the room were being just as petty, but in a different way. And it's just when you make a statement like that to protest something on an official level like that, I guess the whole thing rubs me the wrong way, which is why I'm not really a fan of the State of the Union to begin with. You know, I mean, you hear it from people like Shapiro, and I'm probably just pulling his points out of it, but it's monarchical in a way. I mean, it feeds to another problem I think I have with a lot of our politics these days, which we'll talk about later on when we talk about some of the existential stuff. But it's all a big problem, and maybe I was calling out the suffragettes because they were trying to stand out. Perhaps. Nothing against them other than the fact that I just don't like the game that's being played when they should be more professional. It's the same problem I have with Trump all the time.
Yeah.
Don't go off script. You're an idiot. Stay on script so you can almost sound professional. But, almost. Okay. But anyways, I think we should at least finish reading through that just so I don't skip anything.
So his entire campaign was based off the division of people, women being one of those groups. Women have worked tirelessly throughout history to be viewed as equal. When the man elected to represent our entire country, not just one population of the country, continues to bash and shame women, unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of respect left to be had. Yes, you can argue that he is our president, and regardless of his actions, deserves some form of respect. As a woman, however, I have felt attacked by the president and don't believe he has earned or has the right to my respect. I cannot speak for the women of Congress, and I do not know their personal histories, but I do know that no one enjoys being disrespected, mocked, and called horrific names. As a woman who has faced verbal, physical, and emotional abuse from a man, there is no part of me that agrees with any form of human bashing. I would also like to point out that even though these women only clapped during specific times, they still showed up. They still took the time to hear him out. They made a point to represent the badass women in our country. For that, I am eternally grateful to them and proud of their strength and resilience. I cannot even begin to fathom the abuse they go through on a daily basis, simply because they are female politicians.
And that is you're not necessarily in the complete wrong to think that way, but I think that is looking again at a political thing from a social level. You're looking at the congressional body as a whole through an intersectional lens. You're breaking down people into groups, and you're specifically focusing on this group because they're more oppressed in politics than the other group. And, and I don't think anybody would truly know if there's any real amount of harassment and stuff that goes on, just because the nature of the walls of Congress or the halls of Congress is pretty secretive. And it's always a very public facade on the outside. So who knows what's going on in the back rooms. And, some of these people are pretty old school, we'll say. They've been, they read with, 145 size font during their congressional hearings. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear that there was, some fuckery going on.
Can I ask you, do you think that it is divisive to begin to identify particular groups within Congress after the point that they're all there as a body?
Well, I mean, if you were going to do that, I would say to
not
do
just
it
caucuses and stuff, but
that's what I would say. You would do it on an official basis.
Yeah.
You would recognize the caucus there. And there's a million different caucuses that make up their own tribalism anyways.
Yeah.
There's little intersectional groups that are caucuses themselves.
Right.
And actually, I think I wouldn't be surprised because, did you notice Mazie Hirono was not in suffrage white? I think this was all the new elected freshmen in Congress that were coming in that were wearing that. And so I don't know. The two might coincide.
Because
sure.
I feel, not just in Congress, but kind of in general in the country, right? I feel that it can be divisive to but to look at things in different groups like that. Like when you're talking about the good of everybody as a whole, but then talking about individual groups within that's divisive. Yeah. That in itself starts to take away from people working together as a whole, right?
It is.
And so I think that it's something that you can kind of, like you said, like note socially, it's really interesting, that there are so many old white men that are in the Republican Party, that are representatives or senators in the Republican Party. And it's interesting socially that the Democratic Party is so diverse racially and ethnically and, sexual orientation wise and all the whatever, right?
Yeah.
Interesting socially. But as it pertains to their ability to be lawmakers, as by the argument of everybody who is
a lawmaker,
or who, not even by the argument of anybody who is working on any type of social justice, that everybody is the same, then it shouldn't matter. And I don't understand. Not that I don't understand, it's frustrating to me sometimes to listen to people identify different groups like that and talk about it, because it shouldn't matter. At this point, if you're all senators and everybody's a congressman, then it shouldn't matter. And
we're bigger than that.
I don't.
But I will say that it's a double-edged sword, because for whatever reason, statistics are what they are. And we do have, in reality, pockets of different tribes. Mm-hmm. It depending on how you do the calculus to form whatever makes up a tribe. But to completely overlook that is definitely not the right thing to do. But it shouldn't be the focus almost. Or if you're going to focus on it, you don't want to focus on the statistics themselves.
Yeah.
Because you ultimately want to find out why it is that way. And if it's a bad thing that it is that way, and then try to figure out how to not make it that way, how to fix that problem. But if you're looking solely for like an equality of outcome where the numbers are what they are and we know that's wrong, so we just have to stop it and make everything completely equal.
Yeah.
That's not the right answer, because sometimes, we've talked about this a million times before, but everybody's different. Every human being is different for whatever reason. Male and females do different things because we're not the same. And even amongst the genders, there's, difference. Not all women do those things. And, we're all people. We all do a million different things. And so who knows what the reasoning is behind that. So blindly just leveling the playing field seems illogical.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, you still want to be able to look at them. And it's almost like it's a failure of, I don't know what the word would be, but you're failing to be able to look at something logical, and you let those differences, those little groups, the numbers, you let them affect you emotionally. Mm-hmm. And that's why people get so passionate about it. And that's why we've seen this massive rise in tribalism, and then once you focus on that angle of it, it gets more and more people angry.
Yeah.
And then it just spreads like wildfire. And next thing you know, you have intersectional politics playing out every single day, because it's all we ever talk about as a society now. But it's that slippery slope thing. You need to recognize them at some point, but you can't get carried away with it. You can't go off the deep end.
Right.
But so I guess that's a very long-winded answer to whatever question that was being asked. I kind of forgot what the question was.
That's all right.
Something about looking at Congress as divisive by talking about, even bringing that up,
the different social groups, not the like the caucuses and the individual, like the different committees and stuff like that. Like that's
almost in a way like a church and state rule, but for like political level only, official business and non-official.
Right. At this point, you're a senator. It doesn't matter to me, and I don't know. It shouldn't matter. Like, I don't know.
You're bigger than yourself at that point, because you need to recognize your entire your representative area.
Like, to me, it seems contradictory. Like, okay, so I watched a documentary when I was home for 3 weeks, like a History Channel documentary that was about the Tuskegee Airmen. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and there's a couple of Tuskegee Airmen that are being interviewed for this show, and they're like, oh yeah, we were, in the first class of like all African Americans that were able to be trained as pilots. And when we got in there, we were jazzed that they didn't change any of the flight requirements or anything that we had to learn how to do to fly, because that meant that if we did it, then we really weren't any different, that we were exactly the same. And once we were up there, it didn't matter. We're just pilots.
Yep.
So where's the change in fucking attitude? You know, that like at that point, we're happy that all you're asking for is for everything to be the same, because that's what we're trying to prove, is that things are the same. You know, but now
we're trying to prove that
you
things
don't want
aren't
the same. It's not the same. We have more to offer than you do because we have been put down for so long. You know, it carries not even an implication, a straight out saying that we have less to offer as white males because of we fucking benefit from some white privilege that I would argue to the time that I fucking die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not that it exists, but that I benefited just because I am a white man, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's
the oppression hierarchy.
I don't get it. Like, when did that shift change from just wanting, like we said, the equality of opportunity, just give me the opportunity to be there and meet the same requirements? I don't want that now. I want more than what you have because your dad had more than my dad had. Theoretically, you know, statistically, because of the color of your skin, that's probably what happened. Like, what the fuck?
This reminds me of when people say, man, such first world problems.
I don't.
Is it to the point that, because you think about back then, you know, the greatest generation. Yes, there was a hell of a lot more real hardcore racism problems back then.
Yes.
But
people being lynched and murdered for real, not for fake, because they made some shit up on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to get more money on their fucking TV show.
Jesse Smollett. Like,
people really getting lynched and murdered and shit, and they're like, no, I just want to fly. I'm just trying to fly.
Exactly.
You know? Like,
and then once you, it's almost like the military is that great leveling field, because the way the military works is to say, become a pilot. You have to meet all of these requirements, and there's a lot of them. Other than that, we don't care, because you are now qualified to do that.
Can you do these things? Awesome.
Exactly. That's the military is like the most indiscriminate. Oh God, now Morgan's going to yell at me for the trans ban and gays in the military and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I know, again, we have problems with.
And that doesn't have anything to do, we could argue that too, because that has nothing to do with the military itself. That has to do with the commander-in-chief that exists right now. Because all the generals, anybody from the military, or even from the Department of Defense that is in Trump's administration, have said that there's no reason to be doing that.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
We didn't know we had a problem.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with the military. That has to do with the administration.
It's an emergency. We don't need to do it, but it is still an emergency.
And that's why last week I was listening to Ben Shapiro, and I don't remember what episode it was, but it was from last week, and he was talking about how Trump was like a super gay friendly president, and he said he's extremely friendly to the LGBT community, and then had to step back, but didn't say like, oh wait, let me correct myself. He said, well, at least to, like, you know, the LGBT community.
LGB,
because he knows that that's true, that you can't even argue that he's a friend to the trans community when he is trying to kick people out of the military because they're transsexual and transgender.
Yeah, you obviously can't.
You cannot make that argument even in the slightest. You know?
It used, before that happened, you used to be able to say that because he was the first president to openly run in support of gay marriage and all that stuff. You know, nobody's done that before.
Yes.
They've switched throughout their presidency.
And you could still argue that he's for the gays, but you could not argue that he's totally in favor of equality for trans people because he doesn't want them to be in the military. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can argue that.
Yes.
But before we get too much off topic,
yes.
You want to move on to your section?
Yes, sir. I feel like I don't feel too, that feels like it, to me, it pertains to.
Yeah, definitely. This whole thing.
So these kind of were separated, obviously, one towards Colin and one towards me. So, second, when Don was talking about Cortez on the Green New Deal, he said that she should not be trying to make such big moves so early in the game. Why the hell not? One of the biggest problems I have with Congress is the fact there isn't enough being done. Sure, she's young and she's new, but damn, let's appreciate her initiative and her willingness to make a strong impact. I don't know all the details of the Green New Deal, and I can't say if I completely agree with it. However, at least someone has taken steps to address climate change while the president continues to market it as fake news. Also, how incredible is it that a woman has not only crafted and developed this deal, but also won her seat with amazing numbers? Okay, so she is one of numerous co-authors on this piece of legislation, if you want to call it
resolution.
There you go.
Non-binding resolution.
She's one of numerous ones. She did not craft it by herself. There is several people on this, one of which is a senator who...
She's like one of the main sponsors of it.
Yes.
There's usually two that come out for everyone.
Yes. But my point is just that she is not the only one who crafted this, and we cannot even attest to how much of it she wrote. And I'm not trying to argue that she only wrote 5% of it, but I am not willing to market it as something that she wrote when she's just one of the main sponsors.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I do have something to say to that, though, just to keep in mind that for whatever reason, she is, even though she may not have, let's say, just for the sake of argument, she wrote 10%.
yeah.
She is still the main pusher and mouthpiece and face, fresh face. Thank you, Ben Shapiro. I hate that so much when he does that, but it gets stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But she is the face of the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. She is the champion. And so regardless of what's in it or how it's written or who wrote it, she's still ultimately going to be the one that the burden gets laid upon to present the burden of proof, because that's her pet bill, just even in the public, whether statistically or not, it truly is. Yeah. So that's why we generally would focus the Green New Deal with AOC.
Yes. Also, I forgot to look up her numbers because I meant to do that, but I'm not.
Which numbers are you talking about?
Her winning numbers, because I believe that's what Morgan is referencing.
Her but massive
also
victory?
won her seat with amazing numbers, and I don't know that is.
No, I do remember. I don't know the numbers, but I remember the general situation was, you had an incumbent that had been there for over a decade, completely out of touch with the people of the Bronx, this, that, and the other thing. So there was extremely low voter turnout.
Right.
And so she was able to do what.
So that's what I'm thinking of.
What was that guy that was running as the Libertarian for president? You remember him? He was on Joe Rogan and shit. We talked about him in some episode.
Fucking Gary.
Yeah, something. But it doesn't really matter. It's
Gary
just
something. Yeah.
You had this activist almost figure that was able to pull a decent amount of vote towards himself, even though you're in the single digit percentile, but that's still in the grand scheme of voting matters. Mm-hmm. So when you get somebody like AOC that comes out as such an activist and gets the mob populi going, gets the popular opinion on the street, and she's up on her soapbox and she's getting the people activated, that can recharge voter turnout, which it did in this case, which ultimately put the numbers her way in a pretty significant landslide victory, if I remember. I don't remember the exact numbers.
Yeah.
But it was just because you had somebody that wasn't there and then somebody that was.
Right.
And ultimately, that's why I think she got the turnout she did percentage-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as true popular, for the whole district, I don't know. But we'll have to look at the numbers.
Said, let's celebrate her initiative and the fact that there are so many women working in Congress now. It's disgusting to me how women continue to be told to wait it out, wait their turn, and sit down. Why aren't men told this? So I didn't say you're a woman, sit the fuck down. I didn't say anything like that. And my point wasn't because she's a woman, she should sit down. I even said specifically it's because she hasn't been there for so long.
Because she's a freshman?
Yeah, it's because that's not how this works. Because historically, that's not how this works. And I understand that's part of her jam is to come in and shake it up and do something new. But I don't feel like that's how it works. I feel like you need to sit down and earn your place. When she was being argued, not being argued, when she's being, let me think of the right word.
You got it.
When she's being wined and dined by Nancy Pelosi, right?
Yes.
She's like, I'll vote for you if you put me on this committee.
Yeah.
And
she knew how to play hardball.
I don't.
At least
I would feel that way if she was a man too. I don't appreciate the implication that that's what I said, because that's not what I said. And I didn't say anything like that. And I would say the same thing if she was a man, because I don't think that's how it works. I don't think you should come in and try and throw your dick around, your vagina around, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that's how this works.
And see, I don't even know if I would necessarily agree with you on that front, but I would say that I think what happened here, the misunderstanding is essentially when you said you were concerned with her being essentially almost like a stay in the lane because you are a young freshman congressman. You need to. That's not what young congressmen do, which is what you were saying, and that was interpolated as. But as a woman of Congress, she's being attacked now and stopped on that. It seemed to be kind of an intersectional cross there, where you were speaking as her place as a congresswoman and a freshman congresswoman, heavy on the Congress, not the woman part.
Yes,
that's what I'm talking about.
Because my issue also was with the size of the legislation, right? Like, I'm not saying that you should sit down and just vote on things for your first term. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that
it's very unnormal. I will say that.
And I don't think that's how it should be done. You know, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman or what your race is or who you want to fuck when you get home. I don't think that doesn't matter to me, because that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about somebody who just has been there for a couple of weeks. I'm talking about that I don't think that you should be in there trying to...
Sweeping legislation, I think, was the term you used.
Yes, trying to impose something that is going to absolutely turn over the American economy when you have been there for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
When you're there and you've run on social issues and you've been called out several times for really kind of not knowing what the fuck you're talking about, and now you're here and you're trying to change the entire country because, I won my fucking district.
You don't.
That's sick, dude. You're one of over 400 people in a House of Representatives. Sit the fuck down. And I'll use those same terms. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. Sit the fuck down.
So let me put it to you this way. If that was to happen, and let's say this Green New Deal was a brilliant piece of legislation that you thought would be, yes, we should definitely do this. This is going to turn everything around. This is a brilliant idea. Would that be different in your mind?
No, because I do think there are great pieces about this part of the Green New Deal. And we'll talk about that when we talk about it. I think there are fucking awesome parts of the Green New Deal, that I am totally in favor of. But
I'm interested. I can't wait to talk about that.
I don't know. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have her name on it. I don't know.
So
don't.
What I think there is a completely different conversation to be had there with just how Congress should work.
Yes.
And that is a completely separate argument from, whether or not, like you said, who cares if it came from a man or a woman or whoever. That's not what we're talking about here. Because I think, generally speaking, me and you, we never look at an issue based off of intersectional sun goggles.
No, so
we never do that because it doesn't make sense to do that.
So this is it. I just figured out. I want to interrupt you, but I just figured out I don't want to lose it, right? My problem is that shit happens. She's young. She put the legislation out. If people are going to do it, they're going to do it, right? I'm not going to not... If I was a representative, I'm not going to not vote for it just because she's young. I'm going to say that's highly irregular. I'm not really comfortable with it. The deed is done. My problem is that when people are saying they're not in favor of it, it's being made out because she's a woman, because of all these things that I don't feel like are the case. I feel like people's problem with it a lot of the time, either with it on its face, that they don't agree with it factually or based on the numbers or on their opinion, right? That they don't agree with it.
Or even idealistic grounds.
I think that there are a lot of people who are in Congress that have been there. Derek Kilmer, that has been there for that long, that's trying to get some shit done for the people in his district and are getting fucked over all the time, that they can't get legislation on the floor. They can't get shit done,
Because we got some
and she's in here and she's like, oh, people don't want to do it because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
Derek Kilmer's sitting there, fuck you. What do you mean people don't want to do it because you're a woman? Because I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get shit done that's going to benefit people in my district, because that's why I'm here, Yeah. So I don't like that. I don't like you said, the bringing in of the social structures to our government, because those two things should have nothing to do with each other.
The culture war and the political fight. The political fight's never going to go away.
If she
but
did
the culture war doesn't need to be brought up to the level of politics.
If it's true, and I don't know, right? So if it's true that she did win her district in such a sweeping election, right? Regardless of voter turnout, what the fuck ever, right? If she did, then that's awesome because that means that she's representative of her district.
Yeah.
At that point, it doesn't fucking matter. I know it doesn't matter to me.
She's already there.
It shouldn't matter to anybody else. Like none of that matters. So why is that being made out to be the point that that's why people aren't cool with it? You know, it's because that's not the deal. It's because there are people who don't think that it works because it's highly disputed across scientific fucking platforms everywhere, whether or not that it's even technologically feasible. What the fuck? And on top of that, right, it's not that she's a woman that's being told to sit down because Nancy Pelosi is the one that said they weren't going to vote on it. She said, I applaud your enthusiasm. We're not going to vote on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I don't get it. Like, so I don't understand how that can even be said when if there aren't a sweeping group of men that are telling her to shut the fuck up. It's Nancy Pelosi that said, we're not going to bring that to vote in the House.
Oh, yeah.
We're not doing that.
Her and Nancy are not like
so,
this. They're not homies.
Like this, I don't feel like this has anything to do with her being a woman. And I don't appreciate it being made out to be that way.
No.
You know, because not only because that's not what I said, but because I don't feel like that's what's really going on here.
No.
You know?
And again, I just think this is an argument based off of intersectional logic, which there is no logic to intersectionality whatsoever. You know, we look at things objectively. And so when you see a young freshman congressional leader who has been in there for 5 minutes, you are entirely in your right to be incredibly skeptical of what she's putting forth.
Yeah.
Especially when you read the text of it and you know what the bill is. You can judge the bill and you can judge her as a political thinker for coming up with those ideas because she is the face of it.
Yeah.
So the whole thing ties together. And so I think with that being said, that kind of almost, you're addressing the context of what you were saying and your side of the argument by really pushing the context to what you were saying. I think you made that very well. And
because
I wish she was here to be here for these conversations because all we can do is try to clarify our context and stuff like that.
Right. So I want to speak directly to Morgan for a second because you have met me numerous times, so you know how I am. So I don't want you to feel like I was being like outwardly aggressive towards you because I am not upset with you.
That's just the way he talks.
I get fucking hyped. You know what I'm saying? That's just what. So I'm sorry if that. I should have prefaced what I said with that. So I'm sorry if anything that I said up until this point, obviously, because I'm apologizing now, was felt to be aggressive because I certainly don't mean to. But I'm usually very particular with my words. You know what I'm saying? Like, most of the time, very particular with my words, and I have generally said something the way that I have said it for a particular reason. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said what I said because that is exactly what I meant. You know, and I'm pretty black and white. You could ask my wife that, and she would laugh and say, "Oh, yes," to a frustrating degree. That's what I meant, you know? And if I meant other things, then I would have added that, like I would have added other tertiary things to what I said, you know? But my qualifier was strictly because I feel that it is improper as somebody who views the government in a very traditional manner. I feel it improper for somebody who has been there for not very long to be introducing a piece of legislation that is, like I said, trying to turn the country completely around from where it's at now.
Yeah,
you know,
I said, I want to have that conversation.
Not from bad to good, but I mean economically and as far as the way that we do our energy and socially, and I find serious problems in that. That somebody who, not just because she hasn't been there for very long, but because I also think that with experience in Congress, you start to interact with more people and learn more about their district, you know, because this is not just about the people who are in her district, because at this point, that's who she knows. She knows her constituents and the people who got her there, you know, but because she's only been there for a couple of months, she doesn't know the rest of the people in Congress. She doesn't know really anybody. So she doesn't know what's going to work for them. And you're talking about something that's going to affect everybody in this country.
Yeah.
You don't know how that's going to fuck with other people because you haven't spoken to their representatives. You know, you haven't had the time to go to other places to learn from people. That's a problem I have with this, that you have not considered the implications that it has for other people in the way that they actively live their lives. You know, and we'll go over some of that. That part of this is part of the Green New Deal is a $60 per ton carbon tax.
Yeah.
Like on fucking everybody, you know, on everybody who's just trying to put gas in their car. So you're going to price me out of my car because you don't think that's the right way for me to live my life anymore.
100%
so people
electric vehicles in 10 years.
So people who have classic cars that were made in the 20s, the 30s, like hopefully, you know, there were cars that I'm just kidding. There were
Like the coolest guy around.
Yes,
His cars.
right. So people have that are not going to convert over to electric. Those people can't have those cars anymore. An entire hobby, people who live their whole lives that way, because coolest guy around that's going to be his business. You know, that's what he's going to do is restore classic cars.
And it's a really cool business.
So he can't do that anymore.
He does an amazing job at restoring classic cars, and they're fucking badass.
I think that is, even though that's a small percentage of the people who live in America, you know, people who make their livings or who are like really into classic cars, it's probably a small percentage of America. Like, they shouldn't be neglected just because you want to get something done. You know, you have not taken the time to get to know other people there because you haven't had the time. And that's why I feel like that's inappropriate. I feel like that's one of the reasons it's inappropriate for somebody who is a freshman congressman to be trying to put forward something like that.
Don't fully understand the effects, the implications that your ideas are going to have.
No.
Obviously, due to the way it was written, I think we should segue right into that after this.
Absolutely.
But I do want to say one more time.
Yes.
I want to have that conversation with you one day about how you feel Congress should work like that, because that I don't think I'm 100% on board. I get where you're coming from, but I'm not 100% on board that. And for me, solely, I think she should be called out for it because I think overall it's a steaming pile of garbage, but which speaks to her lack of expertise and knowledge about the wider world. But yeah, I want to have that conversation one day. Maybe, you know, I don't know, next episode or whenever. That's a big picture one we can hit anytime.
Deal. Well, we can try and get into it today if we have the time.
It might spin off there when I talk about my lack of faith in the world.
No, that's fine. So Morgan, I hope that, again, wasn't too aggressive on my part and but mitigated some of the concern or blood boiling that came as a response or reaction to what I or Colin said.
Man, Morgan, I'm actually disappointed in you because you didn't spread that around and it didn't get picked up by social media enough and made a hot topic issue. So
yeah,
you could have made us famous. What are you doing, girl?
You could have put us out there. Damn it, that's what we should have done. God damn. We should have had her put that out to TMZ. We would have had our names fucking everywhere.
Oh, we can fabricate a. We can fabricate one. That's like the thing people do now. So we already talked about it. We're going to put it on the air.
We'll just wait a couple weeks to put this episode out.
We'll talk to you after the cast, and we'll see about you spreading that around, and then we'll have you on the cast one day. Well, definitely, regardless.
Yes.
You know, in all seriousness, I want to have you in here so we can maybe talk through these things again face to face, just because it's really difficult to kind of solve those type of disagreements or, you know, things like that without one-on-one interaction.
Yes.
So hopefully one day soon we can get you in here and we can talk about all that. But I think with that, I just want to keep rolling on this Green New Deal thing.
Let's do it. Okay. So, as per, you know, who I am, I took notes. I went on to the Green Party website and I went to the full language and I just read it from top to bottom and just took notes as I went. So that's, you know, how I figure how we'll discuss it. So one of the first quotations that I have here, guaranteeing full employment, up to 20 million new living wage jobs, as well as make the government the employer of last resort with a much needed public jobs program. So you'll be able to see my process also, because the first thing I wrote is, it's like CCC, right? Because that's what it made me think of. CCC is the Civilian Conservation Corps, right? Okay. So during, oh my God, I'm so excited that I get to fucking talk to you about this. I thought you were going to know about it. I'm so jazzed now. Okay. So the Civilian Conservation Corps was part of FDR's New Deal, Right?
Okay.
So it is during the Great Depression. He takes people, at this time was young men, and this obviously in the Green New Deal would not be just young men. But it
everyone.
Young men who I think were like 19 to 27, and 19 to 25 in the beginning. And it gave them jobs in infrastructure in the country, right? Mm-hmm. Restoring roads, national parks, making them better, redoing trails, rebuilding
dams and stuff
all
like
that shit,
like,
right?
yeah.
All that stuff, it was done by the Civilian Conservation Corps.
Okay.
Right?
So that's what the institution that put everyone to work during the New Deal.
So they got paid $30 a week, had to send 25 of it home to their families, right? So the idea behind the Civilian Conservation Corps is those families are having money they didn't have before. So they're buying goods, which is taking more off the shelves, causing more of a...
It's a stimulus package.
Yes.
An economic stimulus.
Exactly. Right. And so it's causing more of a demand, which is going to make the companies need more jobs. They're going to have to hire more people.
Boost the private sector.
There you go. People get taken out of the Civilian Conservation Corps right into the private sector because now they have some skills to do some shit. If nothing else, they've been led by a crew of people or led a crew of people, and now they can be a floor manager at a factory. Or they can do something at a factory because they worked with their hands, even if it's just gardening and doing bullshit. They've done that. It was like, that's fucking rad, right? I loved that. I loved learning about it. I thought it was awesome, right? So,
try and stay a little close to your mic.
Yes.
I'm just noticing you're coming in and out.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So, let's see. The next one I wrote is they want to make wars for oil obsolete, allowing us to cut our bloated and dangerous military budget in half. Right? Mm-hmm. Something that's quoted later on that we'll talk about is they said something about $1 trillion per year military budget. That's not the case. As we talked about last week, last year, $700 billion, this year, 716. Not that that's not like those aren't both big numbers, but there is a huge difference between $716 billion and $1 trillion.
Yeah.
That's a big difference of about $300 billion.
Yeah. That's a 30% increase.
Huge difference. Yeah. Huge difference. So I thought it was really weird that that's the way that they were putting it out on the Green Party website, was that it's $1 trillion a year. Like, that's a big roundup, It's
huge.
750 I could see, because it's 716 this year. If you're like $750 billion, I still would be like, that's a stretch.
Yeah, you're still talking single digit increases, percentage wise.
Yes. So after that, so the idea is to take from the defense budget to fund the CCC for public projects and green conversion. And so they want to get more people buying things to stimulate, hopefully, the subsequent need for workers, and then use the unemployed also in the administration positions in like this new CCC, that would exist. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like you're taking people from the government and like putting them over there. You would also be hiring people to do administration jobs as well.
Oh yeah, that's part of putting everyone to work.
Well, yeah, people who just have those skills. If you've been an office worker for 20 years and then you lost your job, like that's all you know how to do. So fuck, we'll put you in an office here, and at least we can pay you to do something you already know how to do, and we don't have to train you to fucking build a house because that's going to take twice as long.
Yeah, but I do think it's important to note, every one of these, they say in the beginning of the bill that they're going to focus all of these, and the leaders of this, they're essentially creating the path for these frontline and, I forget the actual terminology, frontline
and vulnerable
communities.
Yes.
Which is, essentially the people at the top of the oppression hierarchy, or the bottom of the oppression hierarchy.
And so what I thought was interesting, right, is that those terms are not used at all in the language on the Green Party website. Frontline and vulnerable communities is not used one time.
Yeah.
But in the legislation itself or the non-binding resolution, it's used in there several times, but not in the language of the actual Green Party website that I was reading off of, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. They kept talking about it because in here, it's marketed as something that I totally would get behind. Not the Green New Deal, but this particular, like the
idea,
the CCC section of this, right? This is something I can get behind because the idea in general in my mind, right? And it seems to me something that conservatives could also get behind, right? Because the idea is that you're taking the money from unemployment, from a lot of these entitlement programs, plus they're talking about cutting the military budget in half, which is fucking absurd, right? But to me, in my mind, right, it works better if you're going to take money out of entitlement programs out of unemployment, out of things like that, also from the military budget because it's fucking absurd, and also from like a couple of other things, and that's the money that you're using for this CCC, right? Because that's the whole idea, is you want to get people jobs instead of using entitlement programs anyway, you know? So you're going to take that money, and instead of giving them food stamps and this other shit, you're giving them money, you're giving them work to earn money to have a job to get that shit, you know? That to me, in the theory in my mind, seems like something conservatives could get behind as well, because you're getting people off of entitlements. You're getting them back to work in the economy, stimulating the private sector also, because they're going to have to hire people when there's more money flowing through the economy, right?
Yeah. And then, I think there's some numbers things that I'd be interested to see, like,
okay,
you know,
and,
what I mean?
And we'll get to that because I have numbers here, which when they started talking about the numbers, I'm like, I don't know how the fuck this is going to work. Right? So we'll talk about that when we get there, because it's $400.4 billion to put 19.6 million people back to work, which would be full employment. Everybody in the country would have a job if 19.6 million people got jobs, right? $400 billion, which, like I said, they're arguing is half of the military budget, which I think is fucking absurd to take half of the military budget. Yeah. Because they also talk about trying to take people home from, you know, all the military bases around the world, and we'll talk about that too when we get there. But so the $400 billion, I don't know off the top, because I forgot to look it up. I don't know how much money is spent every year on entitlements, you know, or is spent on unemployment, because that's something that is going to offset this an insane fucking amount. I mean, I don't know if you want to try and look that up or anything, but it's, well,
I want to say off the top of my head, but including things like Medicaid and Social Security. Yeah. I think total all encompassing is about a third of the annual budget.
So I wonder,
it's the biggest single expense if you count those programs as a welfare program.
And those I don't think would be involved in this, because that's like a separate deal.
Oh yeah,
like,
I mean, that's how you're going to fund universal health care.
Right. So I would be, so I'll fact check it, because I would be interested to know how much money is spent on like SNAP benefits every year, and then how much is spent on unemployment. Because if those two things are $300 billion, you know, when you take $100 billion out of the military budget, or mixed from other places, part from the military budget from other places, whatever, and that's what you're using to fund this CCC to get people back to work.
So if the numbers work out, they work out.
That seems like something that everybody should be fucking in favor of. You know, everybody wants people to be back to work. Everybody wants people to be employed. So
the welfare budget also includes the Medicaid program.
Damn it.
What was that?
My phone.
Oh, you drop your phone
every time with this.
Yodi, chill out, show dog. Come on. But yeah, okay. So the welfare budget, including the Medicaid program, looks like welfare total spending $732 billion in fiscal year 16 and $729, surprisingly, in 17. So costs actually went down from the sounds of it.
Well,
but you think about cuts to it. You know, $700 some billion. That's more than the military budget. But then again, that is including that Medicaid program, which is part of the welfare.
Which is probably a huge amount of that.
Yeah, I bet you we could find an itemized breakdown eventually. But
yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. I'll try and fact check that. But that's something that I think is interesting. You know, I think that's really interesting. And maybe people would say that this is naive of me, but it seems to me, you know, as the old saying is that, like, history is like doomed to repeat itself. You know, if this worked before, why can't it work now? You know, if that's what we need, especially because the focus, at least on this Green New Deal part of it, right, on the CCC part of the Green New Deal, is they're talking about taking this money and investing it in local communities and local projects, right, where
everything's from the bottom up,
where nonprofits will put in project proposals, right? They're going to take the unemployment offices and turn them into employment offices where people would go and get jobs, right? So local nonprofits and the districts and stuff like that, the counties, that's what I'm trying to say. They can propose projects that need to be done that they can't get done or don't have the money for or whatever, you know. They get approved or disapproved through this depending on how they'll benefit the economy, how they'll benefit the community, how they'll benefit the people, you know. And those are the things that the money gets paid for and that people get paid to do.
Yeah.
So they're
and they
fixing
do
our
those off
roads.
the projects.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
Some
what they did before. Is they were doing the parks and they were doing roads. They were doing shit that benefited people in general. Our roads are dog shit. Our roads around here are dog shit. I would love if people would fix them because the county does a terrible fucking job at fixing them.
Surprise,
But there's people out there with their dicks out all the time on the road doing fucking nothing, you know? So
yeah, it's the old on a 6-man crew, 4 guys are outside of they're standing over the trench being dug. You got one guy in there with a shovel and one guy on the phone talking to the boss.
And they're paying them federal minimum wage, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure they would then argue about putting them at $15 an hour. That's a whole other deal. I'm not in favor of that, but that's something else, right? But you pay them a decent living wage, to do shit that needs to be done.
Now, I don't know, did they not address the salary on the Green Party website?
They did not say specific salary. They said living wage jobs.
Okay.
Is what they said.
In the non-binding resolution, it stated Mavis Bacon wages, which if you ever heard prevailing wage, government mandated wages. I know in the construction industry, it is at least, generally speaking, it's at least 100% more than what your standard wage is.
That's crazy.
If so, that's a very popular thing in our industry. There's a lot more administrative cost.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of paperwork and hoops and all this stuff you got to do. But like on the ground, you are told as a company, you will pay your employees this amount of money. And that is part of our contract. It's part of the cost of doing that job. And that's what was in the legislation. So we're talking about a massive boost in prevailing wage jobs, which if you are in the construction industry, you know exactly what that means. And you can make up your mind whether you like that or not. But yeah, that's how they would be paid. And I will tell you right now, that is a very enticing paycheck.
Right. And so the finer things could be argued all day because I certainly don't think that people should be getting paid in the CCC more than I'm getting paid or more than I got paid I got this job, because that's some bullshit, right? I think that, I don't know, at least state minimum wage, because our state minimum wage is fucking rad, but I don't think that.
What is our state minimum wage?
It's like $11 or something like that. When I got my first job, it was $10.50.
Dang.
And that was like,
I was in single digits when I got mine.
What I'm saying.
And then I worked my way up pretty quick, and I got up to $10 an hour when I was in high school. I was rolling in dough in high school.
And people would argue, that's not a living wage. Certainly you could not
Definitely
live
not
for
today.
$10.50 an hour, but I don't agree. I don't like the idea, like I said, of somebody starting to make more money than me getting a job out at the CCC, or my bosses having to pay me $10 more an hour because these people out of the CCC are exactly. I'm not cool with that because that's how you lose all these local companies that you're saying you're investing all this time in.
Yeah, that would be a hard balancing act to have because you can't have the ultimate monopoly moving into town nationwide,
right?
And offer a better program than you can in the private sector, because then everyone's going to leave.
And then they're not going to go to the private sector, which is the idea on the back end, right? So in general, I think this is a great idea, and I think that like I said, with the general idea of the funding, I think this kind of all in theory works.
So if the budgetary office came back and said, this is going to have a $0 impact on the deficit.
Right. Yeah, we can just transition all this money into this, slowly, because obviously you can't just immediately take away all those benefits and be like, get yourself a fucking job, because there's not going to be enough jobs in the beginning to do that. You've got to convert people slowly.
The stated 10-year timeline does not seem realistic.
I don't know.
Or is that? Okay.
I don't know. As far as how the conversion would go, I don't know. But I just mean you couldn't tell people, hey, next month we're opening up employment offices, and instead of getting your food stamps, you have to go and get a job, and we'll get you a job, but you have to go down and get one, because not everyone can do that. You'll have lines fucking 5 miles long, because that's just too many people to have to find a job immediately. There won't be enough jobs within the CCC right off the bat to do that, So you would...
Because it would take time to set up,
exactly.
for sure.
Well, and so in theory, right, you would do it almost like in waves, If you and I were unemployed and we're getting those benefits, we are healthy working age young males, and they would take us and healthy working age young women and put us first into the Triple C, and we would get paid, and we would get those jobs, and then the money's going to start flowing in, and the private sector jobs open up. We're the first ones that go in, and then the next wave of people, you know, or the people who have been unemployment the longest, you know, people who are 40 or however the fuck it works, you know, but that's right. But it's going to go in waves, you know, when you transition people off of benefits onto the Triple C, you know, you tell them they're gonna letter in the mail, hey, we got one more month on this. Go down the Triple C, get yourself signed up, so that when this month runs out, you already have a job set up. You're already there getting your first paycheck.
Yeah,
you know?
and I mean, I'm not gonna. Because I'm going to say blatantly, I don't know if I do agree with that, but let's just assume for the sake of argument, because I want to go down this path here. Because essentially, I don't know where it's at in the timeline we're going here, but the jobs, it seems to make sense to talk about them now. Some of the programs that they're talking about starting, like upgrading and fixing every building in the United States of America.
Yeah. And
like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about a complete infrastructure, you know, being part of this, like everything. There's going to be plenty of work to go around on that assumption. It's just a matter of, like you said, coming online to roll out. How do you do that?
And I'm with you when they're talking, about, all these weird things they're doing, retrofitting the buildings and stuff like that. Like, a lot of this seems like shit that they're making up to do, you know, which a lot of people would argue was part of the Triple C before that. They're just finding shit for people to do so that they can have money coming to the community or into the economy, you know, which is part of the deal, you know. As far as...
Well, that's the problem Obama ran into with his stimulus package.
Right.
Had all these quote-unquote shovel-ready jobs ready to go, and it wasn't exactly true.
So that's again one of the finer points that when I start to go down there, I'm like, well, now we have to talk about what the jobs are going to be, you know, because like I said, I'm in favor of people doing things in the community, fixing roads, fixing parks, doing shit like that needs to be done. You know, when you start talking about a lot of these jobs that they're talking about have to do with their conversion over to clean energy 100%, you know, and so that's like, to me,
it's pretty all encompassing,
right? And so to
rebuilding the entire country brick by brick.
Right. So to me, that leans more over into that conversation as opposed to the jobs for the Triple C, you know, because like I said, to me, the Triple C is more of like a general idea that you find shit for people to do, you know, and it would be almost consequential that if we were doing a conversion to green energy, then those would be some of the jobs. But I think that this still is a good idea, even if we're not doing the conversion over to green energy, we're just finding other shit for them to do.
You know what's interesting too? We actually have organizations that do something similar to that now.
Yeah.
I have 2 people that I hired from a group just like that.
They're like AmeriCorps and stuff like that.
There's all sorts of different ones, and they all work a little different, and they're all, I believe, nonprofits and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and so, and I don't know if that would necessarily put them out of work, or they would just become part of that machine. Probably they would shift to that mode of operation.
I would imagine they would at least be funded through that.
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's how this is. Just when you follow the logic out, if you call it logic. How they might be able to make something like that work, that would kind of make sense. It's a lot of private companies that are kind of like Obamacare works, you know, private doctors and stuff, they put in for payment through that program as long as you follow the checklist and meet all the standards. I can see that, especially making it maybe easier to boost the local economy.
Well, because you can funnel it through the state. You know, like my mom works she works at WorkSource, you know, and so like that's go there to find jobs. Like, and so that would be, I would imagine, a part of the state that gets a little at least funded through, you know, grants or whatever through the Fed.
It would be a massive facelift and a big boost to that, how that works.
Exactly.
Which and as far as welfare programs go, I think that's a good one, because putting people to work is important, not just because it's good for the economy, but because
it's good for people.
It's good for the crime rate.
Yeah. Because
when you have a job and you have, I want to say, the burden of bills to pay and a life to support and all that, you don't have time for, you know, stupid fuckery. That's why, you know, most crime is so heavily embedded in areas where unemployment is so high.
Yeah.
It's because when there's nothing to do, you know, what do kids do all the time when there's nothing to do, when they're bored? They cause trouble. They go out and they fuck shit up. But if you're gaily employed as a kid and stuff, you generally stay out of trouble for the most part.
Well, and I read in some of the articles I was reading about the Triple C that it improved morale, like kind of in general, in younger males and people that were involved in the CCC because they had money and they were doing stuff. It also improved kind of the general health of those people because they were outside working. They were getting physical exercise and outside doing shit, that forced them to be healthier. And so they didn't need to go to the doctor and stuff as often. They weren't, like, everything was just a little bit better, just kind of for those people because of those things. You know?
And I mean, infrastructure job, that means construction. Exactly. That means a lot of outdoor, healthy jobs.
Exactly.
It means a lot more workers' comp and L&I claims. Oh, everybody's insurance could go through the roof.
Shut up.
Okay, so let's keep rolling on that.
Yeah, so I thought that the CCC in it as a general idea, I'm hugely a fan of. I'm a big fan of that.
If this was to happen, that would probably be the way to do it.
And I think that's even so you could take, like, because this is not, I don't think, going to go anywhere.
No,
but after this whole Green New Deal thing has, like, died down, I think that it might behoove her, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to be like, hey, what about this though? This CCC, that's a pretty good idea. Like, why don't this though? Because there's that, I mean,
that could be a good talking point in welfare reform.
Especially
you might be able to get some Republicans
on welfare reform. President Trump has been talking about getting an infrastructure package together for a long ass time, tied together with that because so many of those jobs are going to be in infrastructure. That's his plan anyway, is to put so many of those people back to work on infrastructure, get them off of entitlements.
Ooh, I see a dystopian novel here. You sign up for the CCC, or you go on basic, universal basic income, or you sign up with the CCC.
Those are the options.
Yeah, you could take your chances out there in the wastelands with basic, and good luck and Godspeed. Or you can get on the CCC, and you'll have employment and security for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
socialist utopia.
So
that's why. That's why I think ultimately, when I always talk about the Green New Deal being a utopian paradise, it's because no matter where I follow it, I always end up at a place where it becomes some kind of socialist utopia in my mind.
Well, and you're correct, because when you read the actual paper that was put out in the government, right, that one has way more leading terms and leading rhetoric and buzzwords than it does on this website. If you go to the actual Green Party website, which is what I was looking at, and they have a page that's the full language of the Green New Deal. None of that shit is in here. You know what I'm saying? This is something that just kind of a liberal person like me could be like, fuck yeah, I'm doing that. I'm voting for that. Let's do it, at least in part. But it's when you start to read the actual piece of resolution, you're like, well, that's a little sketchier than what you were talking to me when we were on the street corner and you're handing me a pamphlet. This I feel like you maybe entrapped me a little bit. This isn't exactly what you sold me, this seems like it might be a little bit of Scientology going on over here. So
maybe, baby.
The next quote I have here, cut the military spending by at least half to bring our troops home. 800 military bases worldwide to shore up the oppressive oil monarchies. To shore up repressive oil monarchies could no longer be justified as protecting American interests.
I will say OPEC would have no teeth if we had no demand for oil.
So the note I wrote is a terrible idea, right?
It's a terrible idea.
First of all, it's not always about oil. I'll give it to you. The last one definitely was, and the one we're in now still definitely started with some oil.
The future military conflict in
Venezuela
might be.
And I think it was on The Intercept that there was somebody who reported that the president said that he would like to go to war with Venezuela because they have all that oil and it's just right.
I think that was in McCabe's book. That's the new book that came out.
Because he's citing the Monroe Doctrine, which is a piece of paper.
It's a treaty.
That essentially says that. That we can kind of look over the whole Western Hemisphere and we'll kind of hold this shit down and anything that happens over here.
It was right before World War II,
America
I believe.
Got this.
There were some revolutions going on, I believe, in Argentina. I might have that wrong, but down in South America and stuff like that. We can't have all this fuckery going on. I will help you guys fix your problems.
Yeah,
but I'm good. But yeah, there was some references to the Monroe Doctrine from that book, and again, who knows how truthful that is, because that's just a book,
right?
from, it's a very popular
Andy
thing
McCabe
these days. Yeah.
So the other problem I have with that, right, is this is something that we've talked about before, right, is something that I have discussed with people before very close to me who have combat experience, that it takes 3 generations of involvement in a country, consistent involvement in a country of positive outcome for that group of people to forget about the atrocities that you may or may not have been involved in when you first got there.
Yeah, Western values is a ticking. It's a clock.
So it
has to run down before it's fully appreciated, and the old ways have been forgotten.
So there are some places that we could leave. There are other places that it would be ignorant for us to leave because something would happen just like it did in Syria, that as soon as you leave, shit fills right back up with people. You know what I'm saying? That's right.
We're going to leave 200 troops there.
Yeah.
You heard about that?
Did I say Syria? I'm trying to talk about Afghanistan.
Okay, yeah.
Syria.
There we go.
So
Afghanistan.
I'm really sorry. Yeah.
But, yeah, we had talked about that a month or so ago.
Yeah. That. I said Syria, I meant Afghanistan. And we were there, and then as soon as we start to leave, it fills right back up with Taliban and with terrorists. Like that immediately. That's what happens. So
you saw that's how ISIS essentially established the caliphate.
Right.
When we started pulling out of Afghanistan.
Exactly.
And then President Trump will call him out for it, but he argued on his platform that that's how we created ISIS. Obama created ISIS, and now he's essentially doing the same thing in Syria.
And that is
he's trying to justify it otherwise.
And that is the case. That is exactly how that happens, as evident by, like we said, as evident as in Afghanistan. If you do not maintain some type of presence there to ensure that nothing boils back up, then it almost certainly will, So to pull out of all of these military bases you're talking about all over the world would be ignorant. It would not benefit us by any means, because all that's going to do is incite violence and possibly cause a group of people to want to come over here and do something at home. And that's
how many
just
times are you
about
going
the
to
worst
poke
thing
the
that we
hornet's
can
nest
imagine,
before you get stung?
Exactly. So next quote I have is, we need a World War II scale mobilization to transition to a sustainable economy with 100% clean, renewable energy, public transport, sustainable agriculture, and conservation. Better public transport means less cars and less traffic, which also means better roads, which I think is rad, right? Because there's some people, part of the problem with American public transport is that it sucks. In Europe, people use public transport all the time because it's awesome. They can get wherever they want to go really easy. They don't have to wait around an hour or 2 hours because the bus stop that's a mile from their house only has a bus every other hour. You know? That's how I had to take the bus when I was growing up. When I took the city bus, the bus stop closest to me only ran every other hour.
Yeah, you have to tailor your schedule to its schedule versus it tailoring itself to everyone's schedule.
And if you want people to be able to do that, then you have to make it run a little more smoothly and make it a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is fine.
And even the best examples of public transportation in our country, like New York City, they still suck hard compared to everywhere else, that has a decent public transportation system.
And we'll talk about that when we Amazon, because that's a big problem with people in Amazon.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, that's part of the problem with American public transport as compared to European public transport, is that it's just shittier here, you know? And if it was better, there are people who carpool and stuff like that and use buses or that ride bikes and shit that would be willing to take public transportation if it was better and worked better for their schedule.
Like those people on Bainbridge Island. Them people are crazy. They bike everywhere.
They would do it.
In the pouring down rain?
Yeah.
Miles.
They would do
going
it.
back and forth to the city every day. Crazy.
I also think that green energy is rad, but like nuclear energy is pretty cool too. I think that it's strange, like the complete overlook of nuclear energy.
No, nuclear's bad.
Yeah.
Nuclear is Jay Inslee's dams. They're not good. They're not green. They're bad.
Well, and certainly there's problems with it, but like everyone's talking new cold fusion or whatever, like that would be better,
Cold fusion is a myth.
It's a myth?
Yeah, there's no such thing as cold fusion.
No,
that was a pie in the sky. This actually comes courtesy of, I believe, what's his name, Steve Carroll, I want to say. He's a physicist, and he comes and makes the rounds on Joe Rogan a lot. And essentially, cold fusion was an old school kind of 80s, 70s pie in the sky idea that we now know is complete and utterly impossible.
Yeah.
It's physically impossible. There's other alternatives, but stuff, cold fusion is that's fake news now. Hashtag fake news.
Well, there's that really young kid that made like yellow cake in his garage when he was like 16, and he was on Vice a bunch of different times. And he was talking one time, he had a new machine that was like,
I remember that. That was back when Vice was pretty good.
Yeah. So I thought that was cold fusion, but that must be something else.
Yeah, it's just something else. Nuclear energy has come a massively long way since we first started.
There's obviously still problems. You got Fukushima and shit like that happens, but
it's never like a man-made problem. It's always a problem with the man-made structure not jiving with the catastrophes that the world can bring.
And I don't know whether or not there was any reports about any negligence or overlook or anything at Fukushima. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever heard that. If they were trying to blame maybe the engineer and the architects and stuff like that, but I don't think even that really held water. This is just a lesson that was learned that, maybe we can't really put it there.
Will you do me a favor?
Maybe. Want me to pick up your phone?
No, I got my phone.
Got it.
You grab me a beer?
Yeah, definitely.
You just have an easier time getting out than I do. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
And I'm also going to ask you to just do that.
Yes.
There we go.
Whatever works best for you.
It takes some getting used to.
Yeah. I also think that it's a great idea to focus on fresh food, because they're talking about like focusing on sustainable agriculture and conservation. I think that's a great idea. I think if you try and get processed food companies to focus more on fresh food, then processed
quit feeding everybody poison.
Yeah,
that would be really nice.
That benefits everybody.
Yeah.
So I think that is really cool.
I would like to think that sometime in the near future, at least when you look at society today, the free market would dictate that move.
Yes.
Because it just seems like it's the smart thing to do, man. I don't
like
the fact that we're all fucked up now because we've been eating poison for decades.
If you put some tax incentives to food companies to switch towards fresh food, they're going to do it.
It's onerous to get your stuff like certified organic.
Yeah.
It's incredibly expensive and time consuming to do that. So yeah, maybe if you had a better program to do that, I'd be totally on board with that, and I think most people would be.
Do you know anything about water desalination? Because I know that it's like super expensive,
Yeah,
and
I know it happens, but
right. Because that was also something I thought about, and this is totally just like a stone thought I had last night while reading this. That I'm like, well, if a big part of the problem that is going to happen is like sea level rising, like what is there any way for us to try and invest in water desalination to like consume a little bit of that and like get it, out of the.
I have a feeling that's like just like a one or two technological breakthroughs away.
Right. Because I know that right now it's just really expensive. Like I know it's super expensive.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's the energy you consume and it's just not cost effective.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's any way to invest money in that and make it better, or if we're at a point where they're like, no, this is as good as it gets. Like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd be interested to
I'll
know.
Have to consult a physicist.
Yeah.
If you're a physicist and you're listening to this, give me a call.
So the next one I have here is replacing non-essential individual means of transport with high quality and modern mass transit necessary to electrify everything else, including transport. I think public transport is cool. I took the bus a lot. I didn't get my license till I was like almost 19. So I took the bus a lot, but fuck you if you're going to tell me I can't have a car. I'm certainly not going to be forced to take public transportation because that's what the government is telling me I have to do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fucking American. If I want to drive a car, I'm going to drive a car. If you want to make an electric truck, I'll drive your electric truck, which I saw is a thing that there is a competing company to Tesla. I don't know what it's called, that they're making trucks.
Oh, baby.
I would drive an electric truck if it works just as fine as my truck.
Heck yeah, if it's got 4-wheel drives, I can drive it through the mud.
But fuck you, I'm not going to have a car. I know, absolutely not. Am I going to live in a world where I'm not allowed to have a car? I'm not going to do that.
And the infrastructure cost to just have the proper charging device put in and make it feasible.
Also, I don't know what the hell you're going to do about planes, because that's what I've been thinking this whole time is, what are you going to do about a plane?
High-speed rail.
And
that was the answer.
Are you
going
to get to another country?
We'll have Elon Musk. He's got to get on it. And
underwater. Is it easier to do the ocean is so deep though. How do you do an underwater train to another country? How do you even build one? I mean, you can make it floating.
We can make it neutrally buoyant.
Bridge.
This is all. That's what
you would have to do, right? Because it's certainly too deep for you to build any type of pillar, to put the fucking bridge on.
Yeah, can you imagine how much like concrete you would need? What happens to concrete when it gets really, really like? You wouldn't be able to do that.
You gotta ask Jacob.
Because you think that much pressure creates a lot of heat, right? Something, if it was going to be put down fast enough, the friction caused by everything being compressed so much by the weight of the water would heat it up, right?
I have no idea.
It would be a rock before it got down to the bottom.
Do you think it would just crumble the...
I think that's taking it a few steps too far. I just don't think it's feasible to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how...
There's no alternative.
You just don't get to travel to other continents anymore if they're not connected.
Maybe giant floating bridges.
And like that's what I'm saying. It has to be a floating bridge that's
capable
1,000 miles long that goes to Japan.
Yeah, capable of withstanding 60-foot hurricane swells.
One that goes to Hawaii and then to Japan.
Dude, that'd be so sweet. Get there in like 2 hours. Done.
On a bullet train.
Swing.
So the next thing I have written down here is they talked about what is called the Jacobson plan. That is broken down in.
I remember that.
And I got a dude that I got a dude that I know that does stuff with the power company, and I want to talk to him about this because I'm interested whether or not this is legit. Because I read like 2 articles that both said that it's not technologically feasible for this to be done, but in this thing on the website they're like, oh yeah, no, there's people who totally say that it can be done. So I don't know. I want to talk to somebody in the industry and have them tell me. So the Jacobson plan is 30.9% onshore wind, 19.1% offshore wind, 30.7% utility scale
solar panels.
Yes, enormous solar panels that work on a utility scale. Solar farms is essentially what that is. 7.2% rooftop solar, 7.3% concentrated solar power with storage, 1.25% geothermal, 0.37% wave power, 0.14% tidal power, and 3.01% hydroelectric power.
I mean, we already know
you convert America.
You can get rid of that 3.whatever% for hydroelectric power. Jay Inslee says no.
Jay Inslee says fuck you.
Exactly. Ignorant.
But I thought that was so talking about converting to green energy, right? Because that's where we're at now. I think that it's obviously that's cool, like if to convert over to green energy would be rad. But again, I don't know. Like we talked about last week, I don't know what you're going to do about factories. I don't know how you're going to produce things on a mass scale with zero emissions.
Yeah.
I don't know if that technology exists. It did not seem to be that way. And
Tesla just became the most, prized monopoly on the face of the planet at that point. They're the only ones that are really on the cutting edge of things like solar powers. And they're making the solar shingles for your roofs.
Right.
And, they're the one pioneering the battery power, the storage power. Like, so Tesla now is the number one company in the world because we have to rely on them for everything, or is there room for that?
Right. So I'm not, and that's, so I think it's cool.
Pie in the sky. It's a nice idea. I would like to be there.
Right. So when I think about it, right, I'm like, well, that's kind of cool because if that's the case, then you're going to, I don't know, there might be some type of tax breaks or something for people who decide to put it on their own house instead of waiting for the CCC to come around and do it for them. If you're going to do it yourself, there's a guy.
Well, you could probably apply if you are certified or whatever, or you just hire a general contractor in the area who can meet those CCC requirements. And that's part of repairing and upgrading every building in the United States. Right. Everybody can just get in line and wait their turn.
But you would have to start letting people sell their power back again because right now people get credits. They don't get money anymore, which is bullshit. That you can't sell your power back to, because you used to be able to do that. Like when you first started, you could totally sell your power back to like the company.
Because like, what are you going to do with it if you can't?
Nothing. It just sits there. It's wasted.
Okay, give it to your neighbor, part of the system.
Yeah. So, and now you just get credits for it instead, which is stupid. But I feel like you got to start doing that. It says that it would provide 3.9 million 40-year construction jobs and 2 million 40-year operation jobs.
40 years.
Yes, and that does not include mass transit, freight rail, and retrofitting buildings for insulation and efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a wonderful idea.
Yeah. Again, like I agree. I think that it is a good idea, but it's not technologically feasible, and so that's what I'm.
And that's actually like there's language in the resolution.
Yeah.
That talks about being, as much as technologically feasible.
Right. And this, it argues that it is technologically feasible.
Yeah. Coming from the Green Party, that makes sense.
Yeah. There's also going to be jobs in sustainable energy, transportation and manufacturing, infrastructure, clean renewable energy generation, energy efficiency retrofitting, intracity mass transit and intracity railroads, weatherization, complete streets, which has like bike lanes and sidewalks and stuff like that. Regional food systems based on sustainable organic agriculture, clean manufacturing of the goods needed to support this sustainable economy.
We support them.
Support. So, and this is where I started to get confused, right? Because I'm like, so there's local government funded offices to find work for government money.
Yeah.
Like, and then
that's how.
So then how are local businesses put first if that's the case? If the government is the one, and so then I'm like, so the money, the idea of the money is gonna trickle down from that into the
that's why I think you'd have to move to a system where, like the Obamacare, like the voucher type thing, where a private company, as long as they meet check mark, can apply for these things to go do these jobs. And so I think they might be trying to get their wires a little crossed there by being just a little too idealistic almost, being very vague. But again, this is a vague concept anyway. So
and that's where I wrote down that it would cost $400.4 billion for 19.6 million jobs and $13.4 trillion for 100% renewable energy.
Mm-hmm. Which is all, I mean, you can't move that money around.
So that's why the next thing I wrote down, where the fuck does that money come from?
Yeah. You're not allowed to ask that question.
Having the military budget, just slicing it in half. That's where
we
at
get
least
half
the
of
money for the jobs comes from. But I don't know about the $13.4 trillion for 100% renewable energy.
Do they talk about maybe next or something? I know in the legislation there's a look at a growth in public funded banks and grant programs and stuff like this.
It doesn't say anything that on this website here.
That's kind of there's vague language about that in the resolution, which kind of addresses how they're going to fund that. Is for one, they're going to tax people, and then two, they're going to have all these new public banks that apparently are just going to, I mean, who cares about money anymore? It's all just a digital thing.
And
inflate the shit out of the currency, and it is what it is. Now we're fucking Venezuela.
So I listened to an episode of Intercepted last week that I should have sent to you, because there was an economist on there who was explaining a theory that I guess is, according to her, growing in the economics community. And there was a guy who used to be the head of the Fed, and I don't remember what his name is, but he's like really pretty like prominent. And you would know his Greenspan, or is
Alan Greenspan.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
He was being interviewed somewhere or testifying somewhere and said something to the effect of, there is nothing to stop the Federal Reserve from creating as much money as it wants and giving it to whoever, know? So and I was talking to Jordan about this last night, right? That in theory, it seems to me that that's totally correct. And that's what you and I have talked about before, that as soon as our money is not based on the gold standard or anything anymore, it's all just ones and zeros. And at that point, you can make as much money as you want, because it doesn't matter. It's all fake, right?
You'll instantly inflate your currency.
So the problem,
press the button, it's done.
The problem with that is that the rest of the world doesn't see it that way.
No.
That there's too much faith in the economic system for you to just be like, well, America says it doesn't matter anymore. The rest of the world is like, that's cool. It still matters to us because we all still have money in economies that are working together and doing things.
Well, this is one of the reasons we're so uppity with China right now, is because of the amount of currency manipulation they've done over the last, decades. We can't do the same thing. It is a disastrous thing to do.
Yeah.
There's consequences to that, but there's nothing to stop you if your currency is not based to a commodity physical item, which it's weird to think that even in the digital age that like, yeah, right now our money is technically worthless. It's just ones and zeros, and it's a promissory note from the Federal Reserve that is tied to I don't know what. It's not gold anymore. So I don't know what's to stop you as long as nobody else catches on, and I don't know how you control prices that way, or none of it makes sense.
No. And that was that's why I thought it was interesting that, like I said, I'll try and find that episode and send it to you, because this woman was saying, that it's a growing theory in the economy world, especially as like the deficit grows and shit barely matters anyway. That they're just like, well, fuck it, right? We're America.
Yeah.
Like, why would we not just do whatever we're gonna do and we'll just give people shit because it doesn't matter anymore.
Everything's free, bro.
Everyone has money because it's all just sitting out in stacks in the streets. So we'll just give people shit because it doesn't matter anymore. It's just weird. So,
and a growing number of economists in the field. I mean, that could be a 100% growth from 1%.
From 1 to 2, yeah. They also said the Green New Deal pays for itself through the prevention of chronic disease, which consumes a staggering 75% of the $3 trillion in annual healthcare costs, which I was again confused by, because is that to say that the federal government pays $3 trillion every year? Because that's not what that says. Are you saying $3 trillion spent by the American people? Because I don't know how it pays for itself if it's money that the American people are spending.
I wouldn't be surprised if you took a look at the amount of money flowing in and out of healthcare insurance and the private healthcare insurance industries, because they're just subsidized by the federal government at this point. They're not. That's what Obamacare was.
Yeah.
And so if you were to completely bypass, if you solved all the problems and people weren't getting sick anymore, I don't know. I mean, I know for a fact that the health insurance industry is a insanely huge financial industry.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if a $3 trillion, market existed in the health insurance industry. I really wouldn't be surprised.
I just wasn't sure where that figure came from, because like I said,
that'd be a wild guess.
We're looking at 732 in entitlements, and that's with
it's certainly not
federal
spending.
And so that's why I was confused where the money, where that number came from, because like I said, if you're including the money that
we're going to save that much money
individuals are spending on healthcare, then I don't know how it's paying for itself if that's money that we are spending. That doesn't, because that's not money the government is spending. That's money I'm spending.
But it won't go into the pockets of the 1%.
I'm like, I don't understand how
we're going to save that.
How we're saving that money
from the 1%.
And so then they start talking about a carbon fee, right? The carbon fee will ensure more realistic fossil fuel prices that include the cost to the environment and are high enough to tackle climate change effectively by creating economic incentive to drive efficiency and bring alternative fuels to market. So, I hope that they're going to subsidize like electric or alternative vehicles if they're going to be pricing people out of their cars, because
not to mention if you're completely destroying that entire manufacturing industry,
right? Because I mean, even just speaking strictly from a consumer aspect, that if you're going to make it so I can't afford to drive my car, then you better make it so I can afford to buy an electric car for really cheap, because I don't all of a sudden have $20,000 laying around because you're raising the prices for gas.
Sorry.
So I better be getting some type of subsidy to trade in my car and get an electric car, because what the fuck?
Right.
I drive a Land Rover. It's not going to work for me.
There's a lot of, I don't want to say not civil rights, but there's a lot of constitutional rights that come into question with stuff like this. Even the upgrading every building in America thing. I mean, this is your private property. The federal government doesn't have a right to come in and tell you that we're going to rebuild your house to suit our collective needs.
Right, because right now they do like tax incentives if you do things at your house for green energy to make it more green. You can take your light bulbs down to like Puget Sound Energy and trade them in and get new light bulbs that are more...
Get those LEDs, baby.
Yeah, you can get better light bulbs there, I think that's what Puget Sound Energy, right? You go to, so, like...
PSE, baby.
I don't, and this is something that like we can kind of start to lead over into.
John, you can move this, right? I see you just like bobbing and weaving.
I'm figuring out what works best for me, and you moved it in a place that you're like, this is where it should be. So let's see. I was thinking earlier this week, right? And this can kind of start to lead us over into big picture type of stuff or whatever. But like I was thinking this week, I also think it was when I was listening to Bernie Sanders, right? That I think that wealth inequality is a terrible thing, right? I think that the skew of, that tiny amount of people having more money than like the rest, that's fucked up. That's crazy that was able to happen,
Yeah.
A unfortunate side effect of the capitalistic society that we live in,
right.
that there's such a skew of that, but I don't know that taking people's money and giving it to everybody else is the way to solve that. I don't know that that's the way to do it. It seems to make sense to me that instead of, because one of the things the AOC is talking about is a 70% tax on every dollar you make over $10 million.
Yeah.
Right. Which there's that, like, certain part of me that's like, well, fucking $10 million is a shitload of money. Like, so what do you need, with that much money after that anyway? But there's other part of me that's like, fuck you. I can't have as much money as I want. That's part of America that, as shitty as it is, if you want to have all the money in the world, you can make as much money as you fucking want and just hold it,
Just a thing.
You look like a dick, because you're just holding on to money.
A miser.
But this is America, and that's what you can do, So it seems like it makes more sense to me to, instead of like incentivize people through their taxes to donate to charity a little more than we are now, Instead of me taking your money and putting it where I think it needs to go, I'll give you a tax break if you put your money where I think that you should put it, like if you put your money into helping homelessness, into shit like that, I'll give you a tax break because that's what needs to be done in this country right now based on the analysis that we've done,
Yeah, if you were to put your money, just say, back into the community.
Yes.
That would be...
Then we will give you a tax break.
And we would have a million different ways you could do that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that seems like a better way to get people to put their money where you feel like it needs to go,
Even like the little things, man, like... maybe you have a local movie theater that you like that's not a megaplex, but like it's hard to make money in that business. It's really expensive, and so like maybe you'd have a community movie theater, a community center, but a community movie theater, and you could even depending on what the needs and the wants of the community are, you could have a fund to pay somebody,
right,
or something like that. I don't know, but
so
there's got to be a way you could do that.
So here's an example on the negative side of that spectrum, right? The head tax got passed in Seattle, got pulled back, right? Amazon just said they're going to invest a fuckload of money into Seattle and in King County to help fight homelessness. Like a shitload of money. I don't remember how much it is, but like $300 million or something.
It was a lot.
That. Huge amount of money, right? So that's like the negative side of that. Instead of like, it's like that's the stick to the carrot,
Yeah.
So
this is somebody pulling a gun on you.
Yeah. So instead of slapping them with a stick, give them a carrot of like, hey, if you instead of the head tax, if you spend that money, then we'll give you a little tax break and everything will be cool, and the community will look better and people will have like better housing and there'll be less people on the streets, and also you don't have to pay quite as much money in taxes this year. How do you feel about that? Like that seems like it appeals more to the capitalistic society that we live in than switching it over to the more socialist ideal of taking people's shit to pay for things that you think need to be done.
And I mean, we have kind of a bastardized version of that in some cities. We're going to talk in a minute about Amazon in New York.
Yeah.
And during this whole like bidding race for Amazon, there was all these cities were saying what kind of tax incentives they could offer to allow that, to convince that company to come to their community because it'll create jobs. And so like, that's almost the same idea, but with the wrong focus.
Yeah.
Don't say just blanket tax incentives. Just say, hey, if you come here, we have this program, just saying that if you invest in the community, you get tax breaks. I'm not saying you have to do it, but wink, wink, wink.
But we have
you could totally do that
at your disposal.
And not just at the jobs level. It's like, it's going to bring jobs, so that's nice. That's part of it, but it would also be nice if you that little like that forced charity tax. I think we talked about at one point. It's not even forced, but just You don't get tax breaks here unless you do this stuff that we like.
Exactly.
That would be nice.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, that's like, that's your pull as the city or as the local government, as the town, as the whatever, the county, you know, that place is going to try and be in. Like, that's the pull we have is that, you know, I'm not going to charge you money for this because that's not how America works. But if you do the shit that I feel like that needs to be done in my community, I'll hook you up.
Yeah, because who better to know the needs of their community than local governments?
Yes.
Right? I mean, mind you, we can argue all day about how misguided some of their views are, but that's the purpose of being involved in local government and not relying for, you know, your savior in the federal government to do it for you.
Yeah. So there's a couple more things that I want to hit, and then we can totally move on to this other shit. So they said they were going to put taxes on the assets of oil and gas companies that goes to help transition the economy, and the profits of the carbon tax go to people who can't afford to pay the carbon tax. And I thought that was really interesting. I'm
subsidizing
like, so
the tax
you
code.
Are going to price me out of my Land Rover to give people money so they can stay in their cars because they couldn't afford gas.
Yes.
Is what you're saying to me.
Yes, because they can't
what
afford.
The fuck are you
they
talking
can't
about?
afford the penalty on the gas that they use
like
now.
that's what you're saying to me. That's
so we're gonna take more money from you and we're gonna give it to your neighbor who can afford to pay the tax that you have to pay that you can barely afford now.
Yeah.
And so that way he's covered and you're covered. Everyone buy into the system and everyone's fine.
Yeah. And they also said it's going to be a $60 per ton carbon tax, raising by $15 to $20 annually with rebates for low and middle income. So it's the same idea. You know what I'm saying? That we're going to charge everybody except for the people who can't afford it. We're going to take the money from the people who could afford it and give it to those people.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Doesn't make sense. Can you imagine that? Go to the gas pump. The next time you go to the gas pump, you'll see the tax breakdown.
Yes.
From the Fed and from the state. We have far more state tax on our gas than the Fed does.
Yeah.
And now imagine that essentially more than doubling, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, what is the price of gas going to be for here? I mean, it ain't cheap here.
It's not.
And now we're just going to price everybody out of cars.
It hovers around $3. It sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, it's unrealistic.
So then there was two lines that I had a problem with, and then one line that I was cool with when I went and was reading the actual legislation, right? Justice and equity by stopping current, preventing future, and repairing historic oppression, right? We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
For right off the bat, equity is a problem for me, right? That word in itself implies a focus on equality of outcome as opposed to equality of opportunity, which is not something that I'm in favor of, right?
Because it's bullshit.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
And in the talking about the repairing historic oppression and stuff like that, I think that that's fine, right? But it also carries the implication, and maybe it could be argued, especially in the social media age, that I'm just fucking paranoid because I'm, a white male. But that
you're going to lose your privilege.
That to me implies that I'm going to be looked on with a little bit of disdain because I'm a fucking white male, and that I'm going to have to eat a little bit of shit because people think that I am benefiting from some white privilege that they're unable to prove to me. And
you already benefit from so much white privilege, Don. It's not even
I'm
funny.
not saying that doesn't exist, but I'm saying that you can't prove that everybody who's white benefits from some type of privilege just because they're white.
Yeah, please quantify that for everybody.
That's not the case.
No.
And it doesn't work that way. If you want to come and talk to me about my life, then we can do that. The next one I had a problem with: ensuring the use of democratic and participatory process that are inclusive of and led by frontline and vulnerable communities. So that to me in itself also, it seemed contradictory, right? Because, follow me here, right?
Following.
If you are talking about running off of a democratic and participatory process, then there is no way to ensure that it is led by anybody of any type of community because it's being done democratically. So whoever is at the top is whoever is decided at the top. So there's no way to ensure that that's anybody other than a person, right?
How well did that work out for the Women's March? It doesn't work out because you are essentially...
That's a great example.
Forcing the structure of, an organization.
Yes.
It's something that is you're taking all the human factor out of it, and you're judging people solely based off the color of their skin, where they come from, what kind of genome they were born with.
And the argument
doesn't make sense.
And the argument this whole time has been that doesn't matter anyway. That none of those things should matter. But now we've come to a point where that matters more, that if I am one of these people that is part of a frontline or vulnerable community, then what I have to say, the skills that I have are more valuable than what you have to skill, or the values and the skills that you have. They're more valuable, And I don't, like I said earlier, where does that shift happen? That instead you don't want, I just want the same opportunities, man. I just want to be judged the same as everybody else. Now you want preference over other people because of that. I don't, that doesn't make sense to me. And that doesn't, again, like I said,
that's why intersectionality doesn't work, because it's a paradox. Oh my gosh. The rando phone is ringing?
What the fuck?
Oh, is that my phone? That is my phone. I forgot my phone's over here.
Uh-oh.
Well, anyways.
You want to go
let's
take
a break.
All right.
We finished up Green New Deal?
Yeah, I think so.
Wait, I can
they said one thing.
You know what? Never mind. It's my brother calling.
Come on, Chad.
I forgot I have an Apple Watch.
Come on, Chad.
See, this is what happens. I never leave my ringer on. It's always on vibrate because I got the Apple Watch. But my phone starts going off, and all of a sudden it's like the fucking apocalypse because my phone ringer's never on.
So there was one thing that I actually liked. They said one particular line: ensuring that public lands, waters, and oceans are protected, and that eminent domain is not abused.
We weren't done with the Green New Deal.
That's
You're
the
right.
thing.
And that, again, that whole
like
that eminent domain, that is part of this whole thing, because to force somebody to get something done, you have to impede on their rights of property ownership. This is, it's the same problem that Trump's going to run into trying to build his fucking wall. Because I don't think Elon Musk is going to give him some wall room.
Well, and we talked about, like it's last week or the week before, that Cards Against Humanity was purposefully buying pieces of property on the border so they could not be used to build a wall.
I'm going to fight this shit in court.
Like there are people who did that,
It's already been said that it's not an emergency, so
just want to do it fast.
Yeah. Dude, I totally forgot. I can sit back in this thing and pull the mic in nice.
And everything's cool.
This thing is so sweet.
Yeah, so that's the last thing that I had on the Green New Deal.
Okay.
So we can move on to a little bit of Amazon. That's not a huge topic.
No, that just kind of, we just brushed it over. Amazon has backed out of their original deal to move one of their headquarters to New York.
Long Island City?
Yeah, Long Island City in Queens. And it's been really funny to watch, the congressional leadership from New York fight against this.
Let me ask you before we move on. So Long Island City is like a town, or is that like a neighborhood in Queens? Because Queens is a borough, right?
Yeah,
that's
Queens is a borough. So think of, a mini, not even city, because New York City is the city, and then the boroughs, it's kind of, I'm trying to equate it to Kitsap County, but you just can't, because it's kind of backwards.
It's because a borough's almost like a small county in the city, right?
Yes. So the borough is the county within the city, and then you have the neighborhoods within the boroughs. And Long Island City is a
neighborhood in Queens.
It's a neighborhood in Queens.
Okay.
And if you're not a New Yorker, it's kind of hard to grasp, but every neighborhood is different.
Right. That's from what I understand, all incredibly different. Right?
All incredibly different. And they're very, you're in a different world. You cross a couple blocks and all of a sudden you're in a completely different part of the city. But AOC had come out and been incredibly happy that Amazon didn't go there, because the big evil corporation would have,
what she said,
because they weren't willing to participate in kind of what we just talked about.
Amazon had a $3 billion tax package that they were going to get from the city and the state that incentivized them to build that facility there, which was going to be 20 to 40,000 jobs. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it was 25,000, something like that.
25, yeah, 25 to 40.
Mind you, these are all upper echelon management corporate jobs.
I read that the median salary would be $150,000 a year.
Yeah. Don't mind me. I'm not adjusting.
Which is a lot.
I think I know. That might help.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things are tricky because I'm noticing you got to talk almost on the side.
Yeah.
And I keep giving you false information about where to put that thing because I still don't know where to put them.
It's all right. We're figuring it out.
But yeah, so they lost, and then there was, I don't even know if this is true because the billboard picture looks kind of doctored, but who knows? HD cameras these days. Have you seen the billboard they have in New York City where it's thanking AOC for the loss of this many jobs and the amount of money that would have brought in, like all this different stuff. Yeah, she's getting kind of fired up about that, but her and was it former mayor Bill de Blasio? I mean, they kind of essentially what they did, from my understanding, is the city kind of counter-offered again. It was like, hey, well, you also need to kind of invest in these particular public programs.
Is a concern. Yeah, public transportation was
public
a concern.
Housing.
Public housing was a concern.
This is what it's like when you do any kind of business in New York City. They have all these individual little, programs that you have to kind of play along in.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're not welcome.
There was also just people who were concerned about just the tax incentive they're getting. They didn't like the idea of a $3 billion tax break for that company because it's the most profitable company in the world.
Yeah. Bezos has got the cash.
Yes. So I think that I don't feel any particular type of way about Amazon leaving, right?
No.
I think it's totally understandable, those concerns, as evidenced by what has happened in Seattle. We talked about that. We talked about the head tax, that it is obvious that it is a possible side effect of a big company like that. Amazon is the bad guy because that's what we can use as an example here. There is a possible side effect of that skyrocketing your rent prices, people being priced out of their homes and then being homeless.
Yeah.
And then there's, that stigma that ends up in the homeless community, at least here. I don't know how it is in New York. I don't know if the homeless communities are different, but at least here that the shelters just don't work the way that they need to. There are people who have kids and dogs and stuff that they can't take places they need to go, and they have stuff and like we went over all that on the head tax one. I'll try and I'll write that down so I can link to that in the description on Monday.
And homelessness is a problem that plagues just about every major metropolitan area. It's just some do it a little better than others. Some don't. How
bad is it in New York?
It's not as bad as it used to be. It's definitely not as bad in Seattle.
Yeah. Not
even close anymore. There's that old joke that Mayor Giuliani went around and had all the homeless people secretly killed. Because all of a sudden it was like, where'd all the homeless people go?
Yeah.
And I don't know, to be honest, what happened about that. But for whatever reason, the homeless problem isn't as bad as it is here by a great margin.
It's bad here.
But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to a major corporation, moving in, New York City is not a friendly place to do business like that. Why they wouldn't go to, I understand why they want to go there because they have close reach to, close reach to DC for one. It doesn't take that long to get down there. The same with their place down in, Virginia? Crystal City. That's right next door to DC.
Yeah.
But you're right next to the stock market and, all the, there's a lot of major financial institutions run out of New York. And so you're right close to all of that. But if you don't look at it that way and just look at a community support, arena, go to the Midwest. They would welcome Amazon with open arms because they just like having, big entities, employment entities, because it's, the job market is not as easy it is out there as it is, say, on the coasts and in the cities.
Right.
It's a little bit more rudimentary in a way.
Yeah. So we'll see, how that turns out because they're still building in Virginia, right?
Yeah. And I haven't heard anything about Crystal City.
They said they're just going to reinvest in all their other places, and what they have one in Houston, I think, and obviously the one here, and they're just going to reinvest in all their other facilities and just make it bigger. I guess they also have one in New York. It's just not headquarters.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
And so they're talking about investing more money in there too.
Right.
But it's interesting, Do you think that that's I don't know how much AOC actually played a direct role in that, but how much do you think that you don't think so?
I don't think. She's a loud mouth.
Yeah.
She's a loud, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. Her voice has great weight when it comes to New York City, especially in areas like the Bronx, which, it's New York. Everything's really close together. So her opinion on something that happens in Queens is just as valid to the people of the Bronx than it is the greater city of New York. So it's kind of almost like what happens in the city of Paulsbo affects us in the county.
Yeah.
That aren't in the city limits. Bremerton, Port Orchard, stuff like that. And so I can see how just her being the celebrity that she is, she has an opinion on it, and it could easily sway public opinion one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, Queens is such a big borough. There's enough low to mid income people there that her voice, I'm sure, resonates greatly in a lot of Queens.
Do you think with the experience you have there that it would negatively impact the city to have a headquarters like that there, with the evidence that you have from Seattle or Amazon being in Seattle?
Yeah, I do. I think it would negatively impact them, but I don't think it's for the same reason that AOC points out. I think it's a completely different angle. I think it would hurt Amazon to work there, for one, to be headquartered there. I think the expense would outweigh the gain pretty greatly. And then just in the sheer force of having to deal with the way that city runs, it would bog everything down, and I think it would do a great disservice to the city itself by having something like that they're constantly having to fight with and, trying to bend them to their will. And they're just not used to playing that New York City game. And so I think it would be a net loss to everybody. You're going to have based off all of the wages and everything that does pump out, it is easier to get there for people that don't live in Long Island City. So you can have all the lower level managerial jobs and all the things that, the big ticket salaries that's really going to harbor. You're going to price the hell out of Long Island City, which is already really expensive. It'll just become a little bit more gentrified. But the commuters that are coming in to work the lower paying jobs aren't really going to be that terribly affected. But, with all that and a loss of tax revenue from that, just due to their tax incentives, you're not really gaining anything for the city other than some extra jobs, which, anybody can do by moving in. I think the negative effects outweigh the benefits in general, not any specific avenue, but overall, I think the two just will not be good neighbors.
Yeah,
I don't think, but that's just kind of the way New York is,
Yeah,
it's a very different place than anywhere else in the country. We have some things in common with Seattle, just due to the nature of the big kind of liberal cities that kind of work together. Have a lot of common thoughts in mind. But other than that was just it was big news that for about a day or two, and it kind of has died off. I haven't heard anything else from that. So we'll just I'll pay attention to it as it unfolds and where it ultimately lands. But who knows, to be honest. What do you want to hit up next?
You want to talk about Bernie Sanders next?
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris.
What about Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris, whatever her name is.
She really is just part of my larger point as to why we are not going to talk about the Democratic candidates or presidential candidates until it gets closer, right?
Yeah.
Because we also were talking about Morgan about this week and talking to Morgan about this week. And we don't want to spend time covering Democratic candidates yet, because when it gets down to crunch time, so many of these people aren't going to matter anymore.
Yeah.
That essentially I don't want to waste my time talking about people that aren't going to matter, So one of my examples was I don't think that Kamala Harris is going to make it even to like a Final Four type of scenario, because
I don't think so either.
We are this far in, we're still in February of 2019, and she's already had to walk back things that she said about like the healthcare system. And then also one of the problems that I had that was actually raised to me on Ben Shapiro was that she was on the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God, and
like Charlamagne the rapper?
No. Charlamagne the God is.
I think I saw a little clip from that,
like a radio host.
Yeah.
And he asked her. He was like, people are really curious how you can be so pro-black and like have a white husband. And she, instead of saying, well, that's really, really racist that you would even ask me that, she's like, oh, I love my husband and he loves me. And like, that's just where I was at the time of my life. And, that's where I'm at with it. Like she's uncomfortable with it. Like I fell in love with a white man and, it's okay. It's just something I live with every day. It's like guilt. Like, why are you even answering that? Like, you're trying to run to be the president of this country, and you are not going to immediately stamp out the fact that that's an openly racist thing to ask you. Why would you marry a white man if you're so pro-black?
Yeah. I say
that's racist as shit.
I didn't know that mattered.
If she was white, you wouldn't ask. You can't ask somebody that, and you wouldn't ask a white person that. Why'd you marry a black person?
Yeah.
Because that's racist as shit to ask that.
It's so bad.
The fact that she even answered that, she's not going to be the president. That's not going to happen.
No, and she's got other skeletons in her closet from her time as AG of California. Cracking down on nonviolent drug offenders, and she's got all sorts of skeletons that are going to come out, and I'm going to be really curious, mostly following this stuff, is how they tote that intersectional line by not shutting it down right away. You're validating that a racist question like, who are you, why did you marry a white guy?
It's okay.
Why is that okay to even ask? That, you can't ask how old somebody is in a job interview.
Yeah.
Why is it okay to do that? We're essentially, we're all interviewing here for a possible new job. Why is that okay to ask? You need to shut that shit down. And by playing along, you're giving that intersectional wing even more validation.
It's crazy. I could not believe that she even answered that question.
No. And she even floated out the idea that she would, what was the word? Essentially get rid of the entire public health insurance industry.
Who needs it? That's what she said.
Yeah, who needs it?
Who needs it?
And I think that was her addressing something that, because she has come out in support of the so-called Green New Deal.
Yes.
And I think that was one of the questions asked. But yeah, I don't think is going to make it, even though she is one of the, she's been an all-star in the Senate as far as, the public view.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's going to go anywhere. Cory Booker, you might as well just say that's over now.
Yeah.
Spartacus is going nowhere.
Spartacus is dead.
Yeah, Spartacus is dead. He died a long time ago. He's not coming back.
And so the only reason that we're going to talk about Bernie Sanders is because he's really the front runner right now. I mean, he's raised way more fucking money than anybody else.
Almost
in the first 24
just
hours.
Under $6 million in the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
Online.
That doesn't surprise me.
I know somebody that donated to his campaign first day.
It doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me. I love the things that Bernie Sanders says, because I think that there are like some really great ideas. I think that he gets a really bad rap for calling himself a democratic socialist because America has a sour taste in its mouth for anything that's called socialism or anything like that. Everybody hates it,
Socialism is anti-American.
Because his idea or what he means when he says democratic socialism is just that capitalism will work all the way for everybody, and that there's inequality here that needs to be fixed, and that's going to take a little bit of not totally pro-capitalism fucking taxes to do that type of shit. I don't agree with everything that the guy says because a lot of this shit is like, where are you even going to get all of that money, and there's a lot of that stuff, but there's also things that people run on that they're never going to be able to do. And that's, President Trump talked about a wall the whole time that he was running. And now,
but he's already built.
Mexico's going to pay for it and all this stuff. And, here we are. So, and that's not like taking a shot at the guy because that's just the fact of the matter that you're not going to be able to do everything that you ran on. It's President Trump's own fault that he is not willing to accept that and move on,
Yeah.
But
I mean, presidents break campaign promises all the time.
I also
it's part of the game usually.
I also think that I'm not as scared of Bernie Sanders as I think a lot of people are, right? Because to me, President Trump, even being president, should show us that we don't have really a reason to fear Bernie Sanders, for that sheer fact that if he gets in, he's not going to be able to do everything he wants. All these things he's talking about, it's not like he can become president and just get it all done, because that's the same thing that we said about President Trump. He can't just come in and do whatever he wants. And he can't. Even with this national emergency, he's going to get tried in court until the very end of time, until nobody can come up with any other legitimate arguments. He's going to be in court trying to fight about this national emergency. So
it's not going to go well.
No, it's not. It's not going to pan out, especially since day one he's like, well, I don't need to do this. You know,
it might be a pretty short process, to be perfectly honest, because he screwed up big time.
And I told you this earlier this week, that I truly feel and almost kind of see this as like what might happen, that if Bernie Sanders becomes president, there's going to be an immediate like red wave that happens in both houses, in the Senate and the House. And he's going to get some stuff done because there's going to be people that have to work with him to get something done, because you can't have 4 years of absolutely no legislation, because America just won't stand for that shit anymore. It's been too slow for too long, that the next president has to get at least a bunch of small things done for America to feel satiated with the fact that we even have a leader, instead of just a group of motherfuckers out there leading us, right?
Parliament.
So exactly. Yeah. So I am not openly concerned that Bernie Sanders becomes president and America flips over to fucking socialism. Like that's not going to be the case. I think there's going to be some attempted turnovers of the new taxes, and there's, some things that everybody is talking about, but I think that he also stands the best chance because the platform that he ran on last year is what everybody's running on this year. Yeah. All the Democrats are running on the shit that he ran on last year, or at least like slight variations of it, He's the only OG there that's been like, well, I've been talking about this for, years Decades. Now. Yep. So here I am. Like he is running into some trouble with, like you said, the intersectional crowd, when he said that it shouldn't matter what color someone is, or what gender they are, or anything. Like it doesn't matter who that is.
No, it totally does.
Good. But
you just have to be the right color.
But there are they're not a huge, but there is a certain amount of the population that thinks that it is time to have a woman president or another minority president, because they think that is what's needed. I think that runs counter to every argument that's been said up until this point, that everybody is the exact same, and now for some reason they're not. But
so we need one of these. Why? What does one of those even mean? It doesn't mean anything. And I think that's what, and I think I might have alluded to this in my blog post a little, but I think the thing that kind of terrifies me most about the Bernie Sanders thing is the fact that people idolize him and his ideas. They don't necessarily think them through. Because his ideas are pretty broad. They're pretty broad stroke. They're general ideas. I mean, they don't go even as far as the Green New Deal, which is still pretty vague.
Yeah.
And so, but he gets everybody so worked up, and people idealize him that, it's kind of like people have deified Trump. A small section of people, I think, but, there's the die-hard Trumpians. They have an image of this guy as, the idealistic leader, the perfect ideal leader, I mean.
Yeah.
And I think Bernie Sanders is that same symbol for someone else, and we're not focusing on the meat of what they say.
Yeah.
We focus so much on the person themselves, and there's this general symbol, and to be perfectly honest, it shouldn't matter that much anyways. You should be more concerned with the people that he's around, and you should be concerned with the fact that a congressional body, that whatever party it is at the time, let's say that all two of the legislative branch and the executive branch are both under the same party control, like the Republicans. 2 years they had the Senate, the House, and the White House, and they didn't get nearly jack shit done, right? And people got really worked up about that, but that's because everything that the party wanted to do, they had to make sure Trump was on board with it and would sign it off. The president should not dictate what Congress does.
No.
The Congress should have way more teeth than the president of the United States when it comes to legislative matters.
Well, and it's almost like if you're trying to pass a big piece of legislation, you should have enough people on board that you have at least close to a veto-proof majority, or else really kind of what the fuck are you doing around here?
Exactly.
Because there's not enough people that are really down with this, If you can't take that back and then be like, all right, we just got to get like 15 more votes in the House and 2 or 3 more in the Senate and we're good, we'll roll on with this. Like, then there's something's going on here. There's not enough people that are going to be made happy, for lack of a better term, with this piece of legislation, and that's like how this is supposed to be.
And it's all taking place on a federal level that are things that affect the nation as a whole.
Yeah.
And so when you have that much disagreement and you can't formulate, a 60% majority vote in either the House or the Senate or both, there's something wrong with that. You're obviously not addressing something. And it devolves into partisan games, partisan fuckery. And it really bothers me that just seems to be the new normal. It seems to be the normality of politics today. It's just whatever party's in charge at the time, it's their way or the highway. The president has them on the leash, or they should have the president on the leash.
Yeah.
Because the president is selected from the party. It's nominated from within the party.
Right.
And it shouldn't be. We've gotten so used to putting all of our support behind the White House, the executive branch.
Yeah.
When that's not the legislative branch. That's not our branch of government. Our branch of government is the Congress, the legislative branch. But they continue to abdicate their power and put more. And now we have Congress is now having to fight a national emergency that the president signed because they didn't agree with it. It's the same thing with all the wars in the Middle East. Not once has Congress declared a state of war.
Yeah.
Ever since the end of Vietnam, Korea. Was there an official state of war declared in, I think it was a peacekeeping operation, right? Vietnam?
I think so.
Either way, don't hold my legs, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But at least as far as the wars are in the Middle East are pertaining, we've never gone to war with anybody.
It almost seems like we need a president who gets into office and says, I'm not doing things this way. Like I'm going back to how things used to be, and I'm getting it done through Congress.
I want a lazy president. I want a president who just wants to go and travel the world and meet with the leaders, sign some papers when he needs to, and let Congress do all the real work.
If you guys get it through, I got it. I'll get it done if you guys get it done.
I'll make sure to just kind of make sure the ship doesn't go off course too much, but you guys go do your thing.
We need someone to set the precedent that that's not what the president is supposed to do. We need someone to set the precedent for the executive that this is how things are supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And I think that it's possible that it's only a matter of time when we have people like the representative with the one eye and like more reasonable people coming into Congress, whether they be Democrats or Republicans, because some of the Democrats coming in are fucking crazy right now. But there's more reasonable people coming into Congress. There are people who are seeing the same things that we're seeing and have the same concerns that we have. That this is not how this government was designed. Excuse me, and we need to do something to correct the path that we're on, because we're on a path to somebody like President Trump setting the precedent that, well, we can just declare a national emergency and move on. We talked about 3 episodes ago that I don't want to compare the guy to Hitler because I don't think that he's Hitler, but that's literally what Hitler did to start having primary control of Germany is declare a national emergency, and I need to be in control of everything, and then everything will be all right after that. That's the exact same thing. That's concerning. You talked about earlier this week in your blog post about leading towards totalitarianism. And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what it is, that putting too much power in this person's hand, even if they're not a terrible person, even if it's not a President Trump, even if they're not a piece of shit, that's still too much power for one person to have.
Yeah. And I think that's my problem. That's my concern with the Bernie situation.
Yeah.
Is that there's enough activist legislators now in the Democratic Party, and I'm not going to argue that there aren't in the right, but there's enough of them that you could have some severe fundamental changes happen. And if the Supreme Court isn't able to challenge them enough or actually shut them down, because, I mean, you know how long it takes things to come through the Supreme Court? I mean, every now and again there's something quick that goes through, but...
Well, and I think Bernie Sanders is old school enough that he also doesn't agree with the abuse of powers. You know, I know he's spoken out against that almost every time, whether you can argue all day whether or not it's because it was President Trump or whatever, because I don't remember, and no one paid enough attention to him when Obama was president to know whether or not he was saying President Obama shouldn't be doing this because this is not his job. You know, I have no idea. I'll go back and try and find it, fact check, but I don't know, you know. But at least since President Trump has been in office, Bernie Sanders has not been in favor of like you said, pushing more power to the executive. He is not he is not a fan of that. And, I would like, let's say he became president, right? If his first thing to do when he got into office was to call out Congress and say, you need to take back your power from me right now. Yeah. That's my first order of business, is to end this bullshit and pull all the massively, reaching power from the executive. Pull that back and give yourself back all the power. I need to be able to work with you and try to leverage my ideas and convince you that it's a good idea because I'm the president and you are the people. And I need to be able to convince the people that my ideas are right, not have just a bunch of yes men who are going to go with me because I'm on your side. I wonder if there's any way to... Like if anybody was to get into office who had the right ideals, right, to get in and work with some legislators to say, I want to help you guys draft a piece of legislation to pass that I can sign that stamps out this executive order bullshit, that stamps out all this stuff that, other presidents have found lawyers to find loopholes for them to be able to get stuff, Find someone to be able to argue for me that we can stamp this shit out because it needs to be done with, and just
it's a form of corruption.
Yeah. And just pass some type of law through Congress that says we're cutting all this shit off, that, we have found some type of argument that we can argue that all those things were wrong in the first place. Like I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm sure it's not that simple, but it's like, I wonder if there's any way to argue against those things to try and reverse them, you know? So that if you had the right person in office, that they could actually do that,
I would imagine that there would be no reason the Constitution would have a problem with the executive power abdicating some of its power to the people. Yeah. I really don't think there would be a problem with that. Because, especially in like a Supreme Court argument, the only thing you can really argue is that the executive has nothing but overreached for decades. And that... hey, sure, you guys want to shore up your own constitutional power? We can reaffirm that. Let's do that. Get your shit together. Maybe pass a couple, laws or something that says you can't do this. You have to go through Congress. You can't do this. You have to go through Congress. And I understand that'll slow things down, and that probably doesn't sit well with some of the people that feel like all these problems can be handled right now. Yeah. But that's not the way things work. It's not supposed to be the way things work. There's a fuck ton of people that live in this country. We all need to make sure we're on board with something.
So let me ask you, because we're kind of in big picture stuff now. Yeah. Before we move on to sports and pop culture, because we're getting into like 2.5 hours now.
We're getting.
Yeah. So we may have to put some stuff off until next week. But I wanted to ask you, because in your blog post, right, you were talking about trying to figure out why you hold certain beliefs, right? So when you're talking about that, was there like a particular opinion or belief that you have at that point that you were trying to dissect and figure out, like, why do I feel this way? That led you down that path? Or was it just a general...
It's not a specific issue. It's more of, I try to be a rah-rah USA type of guy, but looking at what America is as a whole, our influence on the world, how our politics is so degraded, our governmental procedures have so degraded, I have a hard time finding faith in the fact that the country that I believed in isn't the country that exists today. We've gotten so far away from it. I mean, we just talked about the overreach in executive power. I mean, it's almost at this point like we're electing a king every other 4 to 8 years, because they're all superstars. You know, even our politicians. We have an entire class of people in society that are so disconnected from everyday Americans that they have no concept of the stupid shit that comes out of their mouth half the time.
Yeah.
They have no real concept of how most legislation is going to work because they have no connection to the people anymore. I mean, you could put it on a smaller level and say that, you know, the owner of a company that you work for or something they have no clue what your life is like. You know, your situation, I know they do because in recent history they have been there.
Right.
But I don't think a lot of those people that, at least in the political class, have any concept of what it's like, you know? And it's disheartening to think that I don't know if we'll ever go back, because people have to start giving up power again. People have to come into Congress with the idea that this is not going to be the career for the rest of my life. You know, you hear it. Have you listened to Ben Shapiro at all this week?
Yeah.
I think I listened to only one of his shows, but he's promoting a petition for what's the word? What's the phrase? Something of states, the Convention of States.
Yeah.
To essentially, a Convention of States can be called, which is essentially a group of the state leadership and all this stuff to get together and come up with something that they want, say like a constitutional amendment that prohibits some of the power of the federal government, or they can do something affecting the federal government from the state level. And it started getting me thinking, I mean, not that particular one, that's just an example, but I mean, that I might see as one of the only ways we can get back to some kind of actual republic leadership. I just don't know if I have enough faith in the system anymore, because everybody's so concerned with, everybody looks at it the wrong way. There's so many people that are just solely focused on doing everything at the federal level, nothing on the local level. If something's wrong in their neighborhood or something, they write their congressman, and then it goes up to the federal level and we argue it there. You know, every societal issue we have.
Before you continue, that's a really good way to get something done in your community, though, is to write your congressman. Like, they can affect a lot of things. Like, it doesn't always go straight to the federal level. We know someone in our lives, Kyle, that I work with. I don't want to put him on blast, but when he had some issues, he wrote our congressman, Derek Kilmer, and Derek Kilmer stepped in and wiped all that shit away. So there are things that your congressman helps you with that doesn't just shoot it up straight to the federal level. Like, that's what that person is supposed to do, especially your representative. Like, that's their job, is to intervene in things that happen in their district that are not correct.
Exactly.
You know,
that deal with things that you can do at the federal level. He can do things that, I mean, I'm sure the governor could do, but it's weird to write your governor.
Yeah.
But, you know, it has more power. It has more swift action, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's the idea of, you know, don't think specific on this one, like that instance, because that's the way it is supposed to work. But when all of our hot button issues are societal, you know, abortion, LGBTQ stuff, that whole thing is all encompassing. There's all these different massive societal, tribal based issues that we want to solve. And so all of our federal representation sees that we're talking about it, and then they run on those things. They bring it immediately to the federal level because that's what we need to do now nationwide.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you can't separate yourself from that, you get what we have today, where every bit of news on every news channel, for the most part, is focused at the executive branch, at the federal Congress.
Well, it also has to do with the president that we have right now, because it was very much,
And if he didn't have that much power.
It was that way, but not as intense when Obama was in office. That they were focused on him, but not the way that they are on Donald Trump, because it's fucking Donald Trump. The way that he has been
It was, but solely from Fox News and the conservative media.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying is that like it's part of that is because of the president.
Everything.
Part of that is because of the president we have, not because of the power he has, but because of who he is as a person.
But I don't see that going away.
He does. So let me, because you unloaded a lot on me there, right? So
it's a lot to go on.
So let me take it piece by piece, right? America, I think, societally works in waves, right? Right now, shit is really intense. That it's a high point. That Me Too, fucking all this stuff is happening right here at the top. You know, the bathrooms, the school shootings, all this stuff is happening right now, and you have to give that time for that to calm down. You know, this is a wave right now of really intense societal strife that happened. There was Vietnam, right, which was probably the peak of insanity that this country has been in the last like 60, 70 years, right? But then you move into like a period of more calm, you know, in like the 80s and 90s. There's shit that's going on, you know, but there's not people being shot on a college campus by the National Guard. You know, like things are going on, but it's not as peak like that. And that's where we're at. You know, we are at a point where we're trying to pull out of Syria. We're trying to pull out of Afghanistan. We're trying to fuck with North Korea. We got Russia we're dealing with. Like there's all this stuff going on. And on top of that, we have like maybe the most divisive president we've ever had in our history, right? It's this horrible clusterfuck of events that just so happens to be going on right now.
Just so happens.
You have to give that time for itself to sort out, because America has been around for really not very long, you know, and there's a lot of trials and tribulations that still has to happen here for us to really kind of figure shit out, you know, because we're seeing it as evidence of what we're doing, people we're talking to, people we're seeing on the internet, and not everybody is distracted and wants the president to handle everything for them. There is growing numbers of people that understand that that is not the way that the government is supposed to be working. I am going to
face in the silent majority.
Yes, there are people here that understand what's going on. You know, you have to give it time. You have to give it time for
keep the faith,
for people like us to have children and our children to be educated in a manner that they see those ideals and they're like, no, that's not right. You know, I understand that that's not correct, because I am in my life surrounded by people who show me everything, and I'm able to pull the truth from that. You know, they don't just show me just this nonsense that you are looking at. You know, my parents talk to me about everything that's going on. My uncle talks to me about everything that's going on. And that's how I know that this is the truth.
Do you think that's really going to, do you think that peak's going to die off?
Yes.
Because I think the peak is more or less everybody just coming online and having the ability. It's the fucking future. Let's face it. It's 2019. We should be floating. We're not, but we can voice our opinion to.
The same
it used to be you had to write a letter or call and leave messages and call your congressman and all this stuff. Now you can tweet at them.
Yes.
In 30 seconds, and they may get back to you. Or you can send them an email, and they will get back to you. And so more people involved in the conversations, that doesn't seem to you, for right or wrong, that doesn't seem to you like a dangerous thing?
No, because the people, so I think about this, and this is going to be a little bit dark, right? I think about it similar to the way that I think about actual true racism, right? There are still people who exist in this country that are racist as fuck. But America itself, I don't think, is racist, right? You have to wait for those people to die, for that whole ideal to truly be washed out.
Yeah, it's like a literal thing.
You have to wait for those people to die.
Because they are not, their opinions are not going anywhere.
The people that we have in Congress now don't know how to deal with trolling. They don't know how to disseminate what's a serious question.
They don't know what trolling is.
They don't know that. So until the point that we have people who are... So as much as you might not like this, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez uses social media the way that it should be used. Yeah, she's having the town halls on there. She's interacting with people. She knows what her people want, what her constituents want, because she's hearing it all the time.
DK tries to do that.
So until we have a majority of the people in Congress who know how to use technology and are using it that way, it's going to be shitty like this.
But the thing that frustrates me,
there's not enough experience there. There's fucking Chuck Grassley doesn't even run his own Twitter. No, you know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't be surprised if most of them do.
Like you have to give that time, because people in themselves, we are not made to handle technology in the way that it has advanced.
We don't have the
but the people who are most apt to handle it are the youth. And that's why there are 4-year-olds who know how to work tablets and phones and TVs 10 times better than their parents. It's because when you're young, that's when you're learning shit, you know? Until there's people who are young like us, young like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in there, there's not going to be people using social media right, because they don't know how. And they're not going to listen to some fucking staffer try and tell them to do a Facebook Live. You know, Chuck Grassley says, "Suck my dick, I'm going home." I'm not doing that. Like, I know if you want to put out a fucking Twitter, then you go ahead and do that. But I'm not going to do it. You know.
Hold on, man. I got a dinner with Cheney tonight. I got to go make sure Halliburton gets their next $15 billion contract in Syria.
A serious lack of understanding on how to use technology and how to use social media. And until that understanding is broadened within the houses of Congress, it's going to be shitty like that. But Derek Kilmer, he's young enough, he knows what someone's telling him, you know. But
he's just gotten too important now. He's a busy man. He's got a lot of stuff going on.
You know what I'm saying, though? There's the age line, you know.
So then let me ask you this. Why the hell are they still in Congress? Why the hell are they still there? Why haven't people called them out on it and said, dude, you can't sit there during these ridiculous, you know, Facebook and Google and YouTube, you know, committees. You can't sit there and ask all these dumb questions that have no reference to anything going on, and not you cannot hold that seat anymore reliably. You have no concept of how the world works anymore. You need to go. You need to be voted out of office, and somebody that knows what's going on and it can deal with the world in 2019 needs to take your place.
I think part of it is because there is a disconnect between the people that are saying those things online and the people that vote, right? And I think part of that problem is that it's hard for people to vote. You know, my mom asked us earlier this week, why is it that only 3 states have mail-in voting for like all of their elections? Yeah. I don't know that can be answered by us, because I think that's established at the time that the state constitution is written, how they're going to do their voting. So I don't know. That's unanswerable by me, or I think really us, how that is decided. I don't know why that is the case.
Because the shorter answer is there's a lot of reasons, and it's every single state has their own reasons.
Right. And so until there's some voting reform like we saw in Florida this year, you know, where like until there's more stuff like that and where it makes it easier for people to vote and these hurdles that are in some states are taken away, you're not going to have people that are doing that, because college kids and kids that are online talking, you know, they're way more apt to like do something online or even fill out like a mail-in ballot than go and stand in line for 2 hours to vote and then to go home and do something, you know, because
that's how important it really is to them. Right. They cannot find the time or energy or what the word I'm looking for, the enthusiasm to actually go out and do it the way you have to do it wherever you're at.
Some people can't afford it, right? Because they can't call out of work. They have to work that day. There's a lot of places that won't let you leave massive work, issue. You know, I think that if you let people, if there's a federal holiday that people don't work on that Tuesday, so you can go and stand in line for 5 hours and vote, then there's no fucking reason you're not doing it. But when you have to work and you maybe can't afford it and you have to work, your boss will not let you not go. You don't get that time off. You don't have time off.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying?
It needs to be
you got to call out of work to go and vote. I love the country, but I need that fucking money. You know?
Yeah, you miss out on a whole paycheck if you need it.
Exactly. If that's the difference between making my rent and not making my rent, is that 4 hours I'm going to be gone from work this week. You know,
with as many people that do work on President's Day, let's just take that national holiday and take the money that's lost to the economy or whatever. You know, you force businesses to make everybody, work that day or not work that day or whatever. Just move it to the voting day. Yeah. Move it to election day. That way it's a federal national holiday. Everyone has to go out and do their civic duty. Yes. You can't even call it a civic duty. It's a privilege. It's a right, not a privilege, but you don't have to do it either.
Yeah.
It's your privilege to not do it.
Part of it's also that people are lazy, because there's a huge, it irritates me to no end that there are people who exist in the technological age that will be standing around having a conversation about, oh, I wonder why this happens, and then text somebody on their phone and not look it up, and then continue to ask that question. Like, man, I really want to know why this happens, but not invest the time, the 2 seconds it would take to try and look it up. Because like you said, Google even now will just take whatever you asked and just put the answer at the top, so you don't even have to pick a fucking website anymore. You just look at that. Like,
you know what's funny? A buddy of mine said to me the other day, he came up with this term that's called, whenever somebody asks you a question like that you don't know the answer to, instead of, oh, well, that's a good question, I don't know, or, oh, well, that's a Google question.
Yeah.
I don't know, fucking Google it. Prompt them a little bit to start it on their own. That's a Google question. Oh, okay, let me Google that real quick. But who knows? I don't know. I don't think that the system that I would like to see in place, the one that I think is pretty hard, old school, republic, democratic republic. I wish we would go more to that and away from essentially like the federal, legislating everything at the top down. But I don't think it's going to go away. And I don't know if, like I said, I don't know what to do about that. I would like to just see a Congress with young guns come in and demand the power back.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just a waiting game. If the midterms were any sign, that might actually be a direction we're going, which is hopeful. And then I guess it just depends on how much sway you're going to allow the freshmen to have as they come in.
Yeah. So we are at like 2 hours 45, right?
Wow. Should we just jump into sports?
That's what I was just going to ask, if you want to just hit sports and then we can get out of here real quick. That's good though.
It was.
So sports.
Was it the pre-show I said we're gonna get? All of a sudden we're gonna get there and be like sports.
Hi.
We didn't talk about it.
Hi, Yodi.
But that's all right, Morgan. We got you covered first thing.
Got you out of the way. So the first thing is that Robert Kraft, who is the owner of the Patriots, right?
Oh yeah.
He got charged with misdemeanor solicitation of prostitution, right? On 2 accounts, he was videotaped, I believe, paying for a sex act, I believe is what it says here. And it was part of like a sting that they were doing in Florida from Palm Beach to Orlando. Hundreds of arrest warrants have been issued in recent days as a result of a 6-month investigation.
Dang.
10 spas have been closed and several people charged with sex trafficking have been taken into custody.
Spas?
Yeah.
Oh, the special spas.
Oh, yeah, they're like
the rub
massage
down
parlors. Right. So sex trafficking is bad, right?
Yes.
And that's, I think, what this is involved in, is like a crackdown on sex trafficking, right? Mm-hmm. So if this is involved in a sex trafficking ring, that's terrible. Hopefully Robert Kraft has no idea that that's the case, and he just happened to be going somewhere to get a rub and tug that got people from sex trafficking.
I think that's
right?
much more likely.
Right. Because I'll talk for lengthy periods, not all day because I don't know that you could, but if there's people who want to like pay other consenting adults to have sex, I don't have any problem with that, man.
Who cares?
Keep it regulated, keep it safe, like that's what matters to me.
Yeah.
So
just like my weed industry.
Yeah.
Keep it regulated, keep it safe. Make sure I'm not going to fucking kill myself with some fentanyl and some, pre-rolls or something.
Right.
But
obviously, I'm not okay with people being stolen from somewhere else and then being forced to do sex acts for money that they're not even going to receive, right?
Just kind of
obviously, I'm not okay with that.
Just all the bad shit that comes from smuggling drugs, marijuana across the border.
Right.
Whereas if you remove the black market aspect of it, there's no incentive to do that because you can just do it legally and make your money and not have to take any risks and everything. Right. Everybody's happy.
So,
but I'm weird on this one because I was so elated that he got hit for that because fuck the Patriots.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, really? Well, who gives a shit?
He's going to get suspended too because the owners are also subject to the conduct policy of the collective bargaining agreement.
I can see that.
So collective bargaining agreement. So I'm interested to see how that's going to turn out for him.
Unfortunately, the law is the law, and you gotta do what you got to do.
Obviously, him and his team are both, unequivocally denying that he had any role in that, even though he's on tape. But so we'll see how that happens when it probably goes to court. Earlier this week, Colin Cowherd, right, one of my favorite sports sources, he helped start a rumor that has been widely disputed within Seattle, but I'm still going to wait and see what happens, right? That it was a conversation happened in the agent world that Russell Wilson maybe doesn't want to be in Seattle anymore, right? And the justification that Colin Cowherd had at this time was that it wasn't in the sports agent world, it was in the talent agent world, right? That Sierra doesn't want to be in Seattle anymore. She wants to go somewhere that's better for her career. And so Colin Cowherd's argument was, at this point in Russell's career, he has a ring. He's been in for a couple years. Everybody knows that he's a fucking champion. He said, when you're at that point, you start to think about your wife's career. You think about your kids. You think about the endorsement deals that you could get, And he said, and in New York, Russell Wilson is way more marketable in New York than he is in Seattle, because there's way more money for marketing in New York than there is in Seattle. He can go there and he can be a face of a bigger company other than Alaskan Airlines and shit like that.
That is kind of rough. He should be the face of Amazon.
There's
worldwide.
There's
Come on
a lot
now.
of
Microsoft.
There's a lot of sense to be made there. They also have an offensive head coach in New York for the Giants, right? Because that's what they're talking about. They got Odell Beckham. They got Saquon there. They're doing okay, So
wow.
It was an interesting thing to hear.
That would be a dangerous situation.
Does that depress me beyond belief to think about Russell Wilson leaving the Seahawks? Absolutely it does, because I think the Seahawks would be dog shit for the next decade without Russell Wilson, where they tried to rebuild.
We'd be back to the pre-Russell days.
Colin Cowherd also said that our division is, in his opinion, maybe the toughest in the NFL now. If we are in the toughest division without Russell Wilson, we are boned.
Worse than Oakland. They're in our
boned.
division?
No.
Damn it. Rams?
Yep.
So it's who's in our division?
Arizona, LA Rams, and then 49ers.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just because of the Rams, that's a really tough division.
And the 49ers are not bad when Jimmy Garoppolo's on the field, but he hurt himself earlier in the year playing like a fucking idiot. And so that's why he got hurt. He just was playing too risky being a quarterback.
Yeah.
There's
a reason they try to play it safe,
Yeah.
Trying to protect the goods.
So, and Colin Cowherd has some crazy sources. Like he called LeBron James going to the Lakers like a year out before that even happened. He's got some shit, and I know
why my dad watched him all the time. He used to watch his show religiously.
Yeah, I'm one to believe Colin Cowherd.
Do you watch his show or listen to it? Probably listen.
I have done both. Yeah, I listened to it because they put it out as a podcast. It's 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Now that he has a show on Fox Sports. That's 3 hours long, but they put it out as a podcast. So I listened to that. He has a lot of guests on there. So usually I listen to always his opening that he does 10 or 15 minutes of whatever he's going to talk about. And then he'll have guests on and talk about that.
Is it every day?
Every day. Yeah, he goes for a long time.
Jeez.
Yeah, long time.
Warhorse, man.
Yeah, no, he's good too. And then there's talk of Antonio Brown is definitely being traded out of Pittsburgh. Okay. Antonio Brown is not playing in Pittsburgh next year. He is going to be traded.
Gone, baby, gone.
Yep. So they're talking about him going to, I've heard the 49ers. I've heard Green Bay. I've heard the Buccaneers have talked about it. Or the Jets have talked about it. There's a lot of people. A lot of people talking about Antonio Brown. And he would be...
Interesting.
It seems to be an unpopular opinion, but I think he will be just as good wherever else he goes with a quality quarterback or a decent quarterback than he is in Pittsburgh. Because I think that he will immediately be put into a focal role, even if they already have a number one wide receiver there. And I think that he will make shit happen because that's who he is. There's a lot of people think he'll take a step down if he goes anywhere else, and I don't think that will be the case.
I think in my mind, as long as he and the quarterback can jive together, as long as they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I think that was the problem with Jimmy Graham and Russ.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they just weren't able to connect like he used to be with Drew Brees. And it's just, there's got to be a dynamic there that is important, that, that'll play into whether or not you guys are just going to be a team or you're just going to be part of the bigger team.
Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett have that. And they showed that last year by having all them fucking touchdowns on barely any passes, It was insane.
When they connect, it's like they're of the same mind at that point, and you have to have that relationship with your wide receivers. And so hopefully, I don't know. It'll be curious. So next season he will be somewhere else.
He will absolutely be somewhere else. Yeah, the new league year starts in March. I don't remember exactly what day. That's just when the new league year starts, and so that's when people can be traded and stuff. The NFL Combine starts on Tuesday.
Jeez.
Which is awesome. Yeah, I know. I can't believe that it's fucking happening already.
So the Combine is where people go to try to make the draft?
Correct.
Okay.
It's you not to try and make the draft. You go there and you just showcase your skills. And so that's like coaches will go and general managers and stuff will go there and they'll watch people do. Man, they do so many different events. They do.
It's almost like watching the Olympics sometimes.
They do a bunch of
track and field.
Do a bunch of different events. And it's pretty interesting to watch. Last year, I was home one day for some reason, and Jordan and I watched it for hours. Watched the combine for hours. It's kind of boring, but it's interesting.
It's like watching Olympics. You have it on the background. Oh,
exactly.
This is going to be a cool one. Look at this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it starts on Tuesday. I'm excited for that.
Is that something that somebody would have to be invited to? Let's say a scout sees you or something and invites you to the combine. Is that how that would work? And then probably free agents and
I am not sure whether or not you have to be invited. I think you probably do, but I'm not sure exactly what the process is here. Let's. I'm curious enough.
Dang, bro, my sports encyclopedia. You're letting me down here for a second. I asked a question you didn't know the answer to immediately. That makes me happy.
No, that's interesting. How are players selected for the NFL Combine? So all 32 NFL teams are invited to provide input on draft-eligible players, which is used by the Player Selection Committee to select each year's participants. The directors of both National and Blesto Scouting Services, which combined represented 28 NFL teams, are joined by members of various NFL player personnel departments to form the committee. The participating NFL executives can rotate on a yearly basis and remain anonymous. All eligible players are reviewed and voted on by the committee members. Each athlete receiving necessary number of votes by position is then extended an invitation, which is not a perfect. While it is not a perfect science, the goal of the committee is to invite every player that will be drafted in the ensuing NFL draft.
Interesting. So there's a lot to that.
Yep. So there's a committee, and those people get invited. So that's how it gets decided.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's that scouting service they talked about in there.
Yeah.
So they're probably And I mean, when you think about it as the NFL is like a corporate entity,
yes,
that makes sense. They have headhunters that go out there to try to bring people for. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
fun little fact.
Yes. So now on to the updates, and so again, these are not things that are guaranteed because the new league year hasn't started yet, but they are like preemptive deals that are just waiting to be signed as soon as they can be, right? So the Cardinals have signed or going to sign tight end Charles Clay to a 1-year deal worth up to $3.25 million. The Buccaneers signed running back Andre Ellington. The Steelers said that they are not going to tag Le'Veon Bell. So Le'Veon Bell is going to be an unrestricted free agent. He can go wherever he wants.
Nice.
They're also talking about him going to the Jets. So that's really interesting. I cannot wait to see where Le'Veon Bell goes.
Go Jets.
The Browns are signing wide receiver Jalen Strong. The Bears released tight end Deion Sims, and they're going to release Cody Parkey when the season starts. Cody Parkey is the kicker who missed the kick for the Bears in the playoff game, hit the upright. So they're going to cut him when the season starts. The Ravens are signing cornerback Tavon Young to a 3-year extension worth $27 million. The Chiefs signed QB EJ Manuel, wide receiver Sammy Coates, wide receiver David Gray, and defensive back Dante Johnson. And the Eagles are going to re-sign their kicker Jake Elliott and their long snapper Rick Lovato to 1-year extensions.
Very nice.
So there we go.
And of course, it's all subject to change because the year hasn't started.
Because the year has not started. It's possible it will change, but those have been reported. They're almost definitely going to happen. But
interesting.
Obviously, it's always subject to change.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's just they have their sources inside the teams and the ownership and stuff. I'm sure just like the news has their sources.
Yep.
Interesting. I like this.
Yes.
A lot of insider trading.
Let's see.
I mean, not really. It's all trading within the NFL. What am I talking about?
Okay.
You got a line for me?
I do have a line for you. Man, I was looking around like outside earlier, and there was a horse massacre in the Revolutionary time, and there was like a pirate ship. Like I found all these old pretty little dolls, maybe like a brush, like a pirate was brushing his hair, and then he killed a horse, and then he jumped into the ocean.
Good. That's good. I'm glad you found all that.